Okay, guys, we are live. So for those listening at home, welcome to the Dungeon Musings YouTube channel. My name is Kevin Madison, and I will be your friendly master of ceremonies tonight, because you see, tonight we are playing a special charity one-shot of Son of Oak Game Studios' exceptional game of Noir urban fantasy City of Mist. Now, my camera's backwards, so of course everything's backwards on that. But this is a session that has been made possible by the very generous donations of folks to the Heroes Save Villages campaign that we run on the channel. It benefits the SOS Children's Villages International Charity, and when we had our voting for which game, which kind of pulp flavored game that we wanted to, the donors wanted to see played at the end of the month, this was the thing that won by a huge margin. So a huge thank you to everybody who has who donated and who voted. Let me introduce you to our players for today. If you're not familiar with City of Mist, City of Mist is, I should say, a similar to the Powered by Apocalypse games. It's definitely a story game where you're kind of playing to see what happens. The game is more of a conversation than a structured simulationist experience, the way that like Dungeons and Dragons or other traditional role-playing games are. Though I find that this one has a little bit more in common with traditional games than some of the other games. There's not like playbooks and stuff like that with it, but. I've only run this game one time before. That's not true. I ran a play-by-post very briefly, but I'm very new to the game. I'm inevitably going to screw some things up, and I'm going to choose to interpret certain rules in a different way. We're also not using all of the rules in the game for the purpose of the one-shot, because there's a lot of moving parts, and some of the things just don't matter for the purpose of a one-shot. So if you are familiar with it, and we do screw things up, you don't need to tell us that. We already know. We are not striving for perfection. We're just striving for a good story. Now, let me introduce you to who we've got playing. Why don't you guys tell us who you are, who you're playing, and what's your level of familiarity with City of Mist. First up, we've got Carl.
Hello, I'm playing Plowlock, and he looks to be a god of thunder and lightning. There you can see his picture in the background. I'm pretty excited. I actually I've been wanting to order the Plowlock shirt from the City of Mist website for a long time, because it hits my ethnic sensibilities.
Nice.
So being Latinx and Mexican American is pretty cool. I've never played City of Mist. I've played Powered by the Apocalypse. I'm looking forward to learning from the master.
Nice. Well, that would be Jeff, who has more experience with this than I do.
I thought that was you. I guess it's Jeff.
I am the master of ceremonies. That is true. One thing I'll say as well, just this for the characters that they're playing today, these are characters who have feet in two different worlds. Each of the characters has one step in the mundane and one step in the mythic. So their characters are, to varying degrees, fusions of those two things. And part of the dynamic of the game is not only the characters dealing with other, mythical kind of things in the city. It's also a matter of them dealing with their own individual struggles with keeping, a footing in each world. Either you don't want to slip too far to the mundane and lose the mythic. You don't want to lose yourself into the mythic and become simply an avatar of your mythic creature. Next up is Sean.
I am Sean. I am playing Lily Chow. She is a runaway, a little feisty, not too keen on being told what to do, and her best buddy in the world, when no one else was there, is a magical giant featured behind me. Her and her giant buddy, magical, that is really more, I don't know, I'm going to find out, but is really more ferocious, but seems cuddly because of the way she talks about it. And I do not have any exposure to City Mist playing or running, but it's one of the two games that I've been really intrigued by out of the kind of PBTA thread, since their cult in this game are the hybrids that really attract me. Where the core mechanic of PBTA is so intriguing, but I like a few little trad structure around it. So happy to get this opportunity.
Definitely. Have you played any Blades in the Dark games?
I just played it last weekend. I played my first. I backed it years ago. Never played it, and played my first last weekend. So very happy.
So one of the things, the statuses in this, I think, can be thought of as sort of similar to the clocks mechanic. It's not quite the same thing, but the idea that you fill it up and then it's done, and then it has a set amount.
Cool.
That's it. All right, and last but certainly not least is Jeffrey.
Hey everybody, I'm going to be playing Baku, and he is a sort of a martial arts expert. He runs a barely sustaining dojo, but mainly he is consumed by his mythos, and that is a mythological chimera who devours nightmares, and so he sort of hunts the other loose monsters in the mists.
Mm-hmm. So with
my familiarity with the game. I've played in Kev's game the one time we ran it previously, and I ran a short game for some of my friends locally. We played about 6 sessions.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Cool.
So,
6 sessions. That's pretty good. Nice.
So the game, and I will say I think this game elicited the very best reaction from Jeff of any game I've ever run for him in the 20 plus years I've known him. Because Jeff would not stop raving about it at the end of our session. He's like, we're going to play this at the beach. We're going to play this on a road trip. We're going to play. And he's not wrong about that. Like, the game is, when you've got access to a pair of dice and the some of the reference charts, like, you can really just go.
Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, and like, there's fancy shit you can get for it too, like these cool like status cards and stuff. But honestly, like, the game can be played with the core books and some paper.
Would you say it's a little fate-ish? Is it kind of fate?
It definitely owes to that too, most definitely. The idea of adding statuses to have an ongoing impact definitely owes some of it to that too. So, guys. I guess the last thing I'll mention is that the characters we're not playing the adventure from the City Mist starter set, because I didn't want to spoil that if anyone's going to be playing it, plus I was too lazy to read it. What we're going to be playing it with, though, is these characters are from the current starter set. We're using the Roll20 version, so you can pick us up through Roll20, some of the interface. I'm not using any of the maps or whatnot, so none of that's going to get spoiled for you. But the character tokens we've got, character sheets, these are all in as part of the starter set you can get. And then the physical version as well has these fantastic full-sized laminated handouts with the full sets of rules, like little shorthand rules on them. I absolutely love them. There are still 2 or 3 other, I think, is it 2 or 3 other characters in it? Job, Detective Enkidu, and
it's like 5, it looks like.
Is there 5? Okay, so there's 5 characters in there, so plus there's a full adventure and everything that's in the basic thing. So if this does look like a game you'd want to give a try to, and you want to start with a starter set, that's a good way to do it. It also comes with a pretty great set of dice. One of them has the Mythos logo, one of them has the Logos logo. So it's got 2 dice, one purple, one gray, to represent the mythic and the mundane. But, guys, the name of our adventure is perhaps, I believe I can retire from Dungeon Mastering now, because this is my favorite title for any game I'm ever going to run.
Yeah.
Because when I thought of it, those who know me know that I'm a big fan of portmanteaus, and fun-sounding portmanteaus in particular. Today's adventure is called Voodoodunnit. So,
nice.
It opens with, I guess one thing I'll mention as well, the city is abstracted. You can choose in your campaign to make it your city. It could be, Calgary, it can be Hong Kong, it can be, Colorado. Colorado's a state, not a city, dummy. It can be, Anchorage, Alaska, like whatever the fuck you want, or it can just be the city. Because it really doesn't matter that much. Everything that's going to be happening in the game is focused on the city anyway. And that's what we're doing. This is the city. And in the city, there are different neighborhoods. The neighborhood we're concerned with is the kind of a low-income, blue-collar neighborhood. This is the neighborhood where Slalok, you run with your gang. Lily has kind of run to away from her parents, who obviously live downtown. And Baku, this is where your dojo is located. What do you think the name of the neighborhood is? Has it got like a old, kind of like old English sounding name? Does it have a flavorful name that has fallen off? Does it have a name that evokes a foreign country that long ago may have added some kind of flavor to this neighborhood?
Let's see.
I'm trying to think.
Let me bring you over. I'm going to grab your character sheets here, or character tokens here. Let me bring you over to the street, and we can start thinking of what. So there's an average street in your neighborhood.
Is it a little run down from when it used to be?
Most definitely.
Yeah.
Most definitely, yeah. I think it probably had glory days beforehand. It's probably an older neighborhood that's gone through generational change.
Yeah.
It's probably gone through ethnic changes as well, too, with different demographics coming in. But what it's, I think, probably not lost over the last 100 years is this working class ethos. These are people who live paycheck to paycheck, and in the modern age that we're setting our story, I'll bet you there's also an enormous amount of debt.
Okay, so in the interest of brainstorming, because I don't know if this is a good idea, but just to get the party started.
We just throw one up, and that'll be it.
Right.
Whoever comes up with the idea first is good.
This neighborhood is south of downtown, so they call it Sod.
Sod. Yep. Okay. Is there a proper name? If that's the colloquial name, is there a proper name given to it, or is Sod? Is it like Soho?
Right.
Well, it's a place where if people get off the highway in the wrong exit, they don't want to be there.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be called Uptown, ironically, because what it used to be.
I like your as a Uptown, sure. So it's Uptown, but everyone calls it Sod.
Yeah.
Okay. So, you three have, as I said, been living in Sod for a while. One of the curious things about Sod is that even when the rest of the city is experiencing good, balmy weather or whatnot, it seems like even when there are clear, sunny skies elsewhere, there's clouds lingering in Sod, and at night we get rain. So every evening there is the rainfall. And that's no different.
It's not my fault, but it's fine by me.
Yeah. Whether it's your fault or not, or your choice, it's totally up to you. It sounds like Tlaloc will deny it if asked.
Right.
So, as you guys, one of the things that Baku, you have taken up is, of course, you're a hunter, and because of the sort of impromptu flock that you've taken in. You're mindful of the children of the neighborhood, particularly the sort of tweens and to late teen stuff, the ones who are in that age demographic that would get in trouble. Does that sound right to
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. One of the things you have found is that there have been children going missing.
Oh, well, that's a big deal.
Now, the thing is that you can go and you've been using your abilities and whatnot to try and track things down, but the type of cunning predator, and you're certain there's a predator involved here, that has been lurking in the around the youth of Sod. They've been using something to hide themselves from you. You're certain there's a supernatural element here, but they've been tracking. So as a result of that, you've been relying on someone who knows the neighborhood a little better. One of the shortcomings you have is that while you are a capable physical combatant and an able martial arts instructor, the cost of your success as a monster hunter comes at the expense of your connection to the neighborhood.
Absolutely.
Tlaloc, on the other hand, he knows this neighborhood. He knows this backwards and forwards. If some, out-of-town tourist takes a wrong turn off of the highway, takes the wrong exit, and finds themselves driving up and down the streets of Sod, Tlaloc's going to be, in the know of that, particularly if they're driving something really nice. Mm-hmm. So where our scene opens is on a street just like this. And we're going to have Baku and Lily and Tlaloc. Lily, it's been friends of yours as well, too. Perhaps one, perhaps two. And maybe friends is too generous of a term, but you tell me how friendly you think that you have become with the other people that you've met in the neighborhood. Lily's a stranger here. She definitely comes from a different, socioeconomic stratus than what the people living here, the kids growing up here, are with. And it does sound like Lily has all the friends she needs in Iron Hans. So do you think she's been close to these kids, or do you think she's kept off at a distance?
I think that the relationship is not particularly personal. However, it's the connection of being a transient, of being kind of vagabondish, and it comes off of Lily pretty quickly. She can be a little feisty, but you see someone that's like you, and you're like, you let it go. I mean, it's there's an immediate connection, even though I don't know where they're from. We don't hang out. We don't, we might hang out a little bit, but we don't know much about each other.
Okay. So, you may be accompanying this not so much because you know the kids who are gone, so much as Baku knows that he's hunting something that has been able to hide from him. That sound right?
Sounds fine to me.
Okay. So, Baku and Lily, do you think, if you're hard up for money, I'm imagining that Baku, you're traveling on foot, right?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
All right.
I think he's basically always scraping money together.
So what do we see as Baku? Tlaloc said he would meet you here in front of Cinema Rio. And what do you think? What do we see as Baku and Lily come walking onto the scene? Tlaloc does not appear to be here yet.
Is Tlaloc approaching? Is that what you're
no,
suggesting?
I just want to get a description of...
Okay.
Yeah, Tlaloc will be there momentarily, and you can tell us how he's going to arrive and what he looks like. But for now, we'll see Baku and Lily. What do you guys look like? What do we see as you guys approach this?
Well, I think Baku is, as he always moves about the streets at night, he's almost silent and just moving quietly and cautiously. Almost any corner could be danger. So,
Okay.
And I think he's always sort of strategically. I guess at this point I probably know about the giant or not, Kev.
I think you do. Yeah, I think Lily.
We've been in the investigate. We've done other cases or something.
Yeah, I think that it's perhaps the case that you and Lily, like the reason you may have come across her is because you sensed Iron Hans.
Right. Okay. So,
Right.
I mean, even though I know about the giant, I probably still instinctively am like always positioning myself. So, as we're going across a back alley, I'm on the inside. You know, if something's going to jump out.
And I'll let you guys tell me if this is wrong, but what might have happened is, Baku, your initial impression may have been that this giant was controlling her or possessing her of some way, and maybe it was Lily who told you otherwise.
Right, who explained the relationship to me.
Yeah,
I like that.
Okay. It also could be like what Lily could represent to you is an insight. You may get so narrowly focused on like pursuing and hunting the supernatural and seeing a threat in all of them that you may not have recognized that, oh fuck, there's more complexity to this than just,
Well, and maybe I grasp onto the fact that, like, I sort of think of all the monsters as evil, but, this shows me that there are some that are compassionate and caring. And so, maybe I want to learn more about that, about the giant and the relationship to sort of maybe understand the monsters better.
Yep. Okay. So what about Lily? So we see this man who seems to be kind of keeping to the shadows. I'm picturing a hoodie up, a baseball bat or something similar, kind of at his back or his side. And then next to him is this fairly conspicuous young woman.
Yeah. And I noticed, Hans is nowhere to be seen. He has to be summoned. So, I think that she is happy-go-lucky. She's like on the road. She's kind of where she wants to be, in a sense, but she has a little bit of a short fuse, like when people in certain situations. But she likes Baku. She likes a little bit. She doesn't want to be tied down, but everyone wants a little bit of ownership, and so she's like found a little spot here, and she's pretty happy. And maybe that's something that that can be easy to like about Lily for Baku or otherwise, where things get pretty grim. But Lily's like, hey, let's go, like, let's go roll around in the grass. Like, what's wrong with you? This kind of a like. So meeting at the Cinema Rio, like she hasn't been to a movie in ages. She's like, oh, okay, let's whatever. That sounds good.
And it makes sense too that she would not really get what the neighborhood's like and be like, oh, cool, we're gonna go see. Oh, it's closed. Of course, it's closed down
for years.
Yeah, yeah, totally. Sod has seen some bad times bad times followed by bad times followed
Does
by
it
worse
open
times.
Tomorrow?
Okay, so yeah, maybe that's what we see. Is like Lily's, Baku is hidden maybe under the shadow of the marquee there, and Lily is sort of like rattling the thing.
Yeah,
like
oh, it looks like it's closed, Baku. Like yeah.
So then we'll hear sort of a a peal of thunder kind of roll overhead. And Carl, why don't you tell us what it's like when Tlaloc enters the scene?
Yeah, well, so he's definitely a self-promoter. He is kind of sneaky. So I think what I would like to see happen, but I guess it depends. He's going to come in with a bit of a flair and an entrance to these people.
Sure.
Who, I know Baku is from this neighborhood, but this Lily Chow person is not. So he wants to increase the rain, make it a little staticky and electricity, and see if he can turn himself into water, just like appear.
Sure. Yeah. So normally,
and then there's like a blazing in his eyes when he does.
Yeah. So unless we're in a scene where like there's going to be a consequence, you don't necessarily need to make a roll for that. I'm fine with you just doing that. I'm
just using my tags to try to describe what you
absolutely. Yeah.
Right. No. It's not trying to. I mean, I'm sure Baku would roll his eyes, right? He's
So how does
the leader of a dojo?
So I guess like what you're seeing is like the rain that's still falling down. It begins to get harder. And what I can do is turn up the volume of the rain a little bit.
And riffs are rare. Is that true?
Riffs are in the city. It seems like they are not. They're about as common as like superheroes in Marvel's New York City, the comics, not the thing.
So that's pretty rare, right? I mean, for 8 million people,
they seem to always. Yeah, I mean, it's not. It'd be hard to put them in an. Put a number on them, like per capita or something like that. But there's a lot. Like in each neighborhood, there are, and they sort of leave it up to you to determine how the mundane population kind of responds to that. I choose to take kind of an approach like what Werewolf the Apocalypse does, where there's a delirium. You just don't recognize it. Mundane things will just reconcile their brain to whatever the mundane thing is. If they see a dragon tearing ass down the streets and burning, buildings and shit like that, they'll see it as a bomb going off, or they'll understand it as the things. Just it will not process as being a supernatural presence.
So they don't really acknowledge us or recognize our status.
They don't. But there is also a third party that kind of agents of the mist itself that sort of maintains that. And if you step too far out of hands, if you try and get, displaying too powerful of things, you may actually lose yourself into your mythos anyway. But you also may draw the attention of, I think it's called the Grey Watch. But it's agents of the mist coming in to make sure you don't cause those problems any longer.
Okay.
But yeah, the vast majority of humanity, from my take on it, they're not going to recognize it as that. The game is more flexible. You can choose to have it be that they understand it and whatnot too, but I think it's cooler that it's all happening in the wainscot.
So no one will see Hans. If Hans appears, only my friends will see him. Is that correct? Or
probably. Yeah, probably.
Unless he wants to be seen, or maybe, I don't know.
Like, you might scare, like, you could, like, interact with supers, but they're gonna, their minds will do tricks to make them think that it's just normal.
Okay.
But that said, like, you guys absolutely can use your powers like crazy supernatural. Were you thinking, Tlaloc, as the rain is coming, that you suddenly appear from it, or do you come out of a puddle?
Yeah, because he can turn himself into water, so he kind of intermingles with the rain from where he was observing these folks coming in to what he thinks is his territory.
Yeah.
And then just sort of, form from the rain droplets, like, the way up.
Nice. So the
his
thunder
eyes
picks up,
blazing, right?
the rain picks up. Baku, you stop and kind of, you sniff, and in addition to the smell of that smell of falling rain, you can also smell the supernatural. And then,
Of course,
Tlaloc walks out of the rain, and what do you say? Oh, I guess what I'll tell you is Tlaloc, about 2 blocks away, there is a park, and in that park is Baku's prey.
Okay. I say, I guess you're here to help. I'm glad you're here to help. I don't like things like this happening in my neighborhood. It's at the park. He looks at Baku.
it's that nearby.
You would know the neighborhood well enough too, Baku. Yeah.
Yeah, let's. No, I'm saying like the thing is that close. We should move now.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Thanks for coming, Tlaloc.
I thought we were going to the movies, but that's fine.
I mean, the last movie here was Romancing the Stone. I think that's probably before I was born.
I'm not familiar with that one. Was that good?
It looks exciting.
Yeah.
I mean, isn't that guy Ant-Man?
He's kind of handsome, but kind of an older way.
Ant-Man 1.
What? Well, how do you guys get to the park then? What's our transition as you guys make your way there? Are you guys getting a car? You guys? I mean, Baku certainly wouldn't have it. Tlaloc, I think it's reasonable to think he could have a car.
I mean, it's raining, so he could I could travel between bodies of water, right? So, pop from puddle to puddle,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I imagine Baku would break out in a jog or something. Like he's gonna hurry there.
Sure. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So he's running through the rain. We got Baku, Tlaloc. You're gonna disappear into
reappear.
Yep. And Lily.
Yep.
Lily fluffs her hair a little, like, seriously? And, this is ridiculous. But she goes, whatever. And she, follows Baku, and starts jogging after Baku. I thought we were going to the movies.
Now,
and jogs after Baku.
One of your tags, Lily, I know is the impenetrable thing from Han, so you could have a big green hand appear above you to keep you dry.
Oh, I like that. That sounds pretty cool. Yeah,
Okay.
I'll have to get the hang of this as far as using stuff like that. No, I like the hand over my.
Sure. So, and Iron Hans is sort of stalking behind you.
I think she's a little clueless too, where she goes, "Oh, cool, it's lightening up a little," and she's jogging.
All right. So let's cut to the playground. So rain is coming down in here. The playground appears to be empty, apart from, and it's very much like this. I was having a hard time. I was trying to find a playground that's crushed between a bunch of dilapidated buildings, and I could not find a good enough, or at least the perfect photo for it. So what you can picture is this kind of bare bones stuff, broken down play equipment, and then big, tenement buildings kind of on either side of this thing. But in the midst of this, sitting on one of those play structures, maybe I think on a merry-go, not a, what do you call it, a merry-go-round? So is that what's
I
the
think
thing?
I know what you're talking about. Yeah. The playground version of
The playground,
with
whatever that wheel thing is.
Yeah. Those are fun.
Sitting
The
on that
merry-go-round.
and sort of with 1 foot off and slowly pushing it so it's creaking around. There is a figure who is seemingly, definitely dressed like they are a homeless person, long, straggly hair. There's a bit of a ball cap on. And as the thing creaks around, we see he moves his hands a little bit as he comes into the light. And we can see a flute brought up. And his hands, while old and covered in veins and with nicks and cuts and whatnot that have scarred over in strange ways. One finger that seemed bent at an odd angle, a broken digit that likely didn't heal properly. His hands dance across the keys of the flute, and it is letting out a haunting song that seems to blend with the discordant creaking of the wheel as it's going around.
I'm gonna.
And this is the scene. Yeah, where do you appear?
I want to appear and look and tell Baku. I guess this is your show. I'll back you up. What I would like to do is
let's
hide.
Let's set the stage.
Okay.
Sure, but let's just set the stage here first. So, do you guys picture you're approaching on ground level? Are you parkouring it up to the upper levels? Do you have a plan that you guys have talked about beforehand to how to approach this thing or this being?
Well, I just imagine that as Baku gets closer and closer to something like this, like his sort of
Here's
nightmare
the man, by the way,
sort of the hunter aspect in him starts to take over, and he's almost like, I'd say bloodthirsty, but it's not really bloodthirsty. It's like,
sure,
he's hungry for the monster, right? So I just imagine that he sort of races in like
okay. So you get up there at talk, you're about to say something, and Baku's going to come racing in. Now, Tlaloc sounds like he'd be the first one here, so let's start the spotlight. What were you trying to do, Carl? You're trying to hide?
I was going to hide, yeah, because I feel like it's Baku's show. So my idea is to hide, and then if he needs, like, some lightning backup, then that's what Tlaloc does.
Sure.
But it's better to be discreet in his mind.
Yeah. So that sounds like you're going to sneak around.
Yeah, sneak around, I think. So
what
I
power
thought about
tags?
Tagging, travel between bodies of water, and turn myself into water so I don't look so obvious.
I'd also think that shadow and observe under wheeler and dealer, that probably applies too, right?
Oh, that's kind of cool. Okay. And then just hit sneak around?
Yeah, please click sneak around. Let's see what happens.
All right.
Oh. Okay.
That's
Got
a success, but
all right.
There's a complication, though.
Yeah,
right?
So why don't you tell me what happens to you? Like, where do you see yourself hiding here?
Okay, so let me look at this picture. Oh, maybe I would say like the biggest puddle of water might be in, like, how there's all of these like sand, sand pits in a playground. And he's like, oh, that's a lot of water, but when I get there, it's kind of muddy, so I'm like slowed down a little bit.
Sure, so you sort of
appear there. I'm like, instead of waterman, I'm like sticky sand man.
Sure.
So it could slow me down, or.
So what I'm going to do is I'm not going to impose a reaction. What I am going to do is you sort of see Baku running up, you disappear into the water, reappear. We see Baku running across. I'm picturing you jumping off the roof, Jeff, because that just seems the most badass for you. Yeah. Racing along the roof, you leap off, your club is out, but as you sort of leap into the air, Tlaloc disappears, and the hunted man suddenly stops playing, and his head cocks to the side, and he seems to be aware of your presence. So I'm going to put a status down of forewarned 1.
Do I take off those tags for the next thing, right?
If you just click on, I think it's refresh, or something like that, on the, next to the power tab, the far right. So, Baku, what are you doing?
Got it.
Spotlight's on you.
Yeah, I think that, like you said, maybe he was gonna jump down, like maybe he was coming off the either the roof or like a fire escape or something, and was just gonna leap down and basically get so close to this guy so as to not give him a chance to escape.
Okay.
And
so,
maybe he would put his hands on him, but he wouldn't, like, this isn't an attack, this is more like a detain. He's like trying to get his hands on him before he can run away.
Okay. So I think then that's probably going toe to toe then, as opposed to trying to harm it.
Yeah.
Okay. So then, what do you think? What do you think you're bringing to bear here? For one, you're gonna have a negative status of forewarned, so you can put that on the power card.
Which card do you put it on?
So you see at the top there, very top, there is on the right hand side. There's one that says power card. It'll count up your things. There's
there, yeah. Right, -1. There. Oh, What? Oh, there we go.
Okay. And then what are you thinking? What are your...
Like I'm thinking, like, you know, he's going to use his martial arts, obviously. I mean, so, you know, I think he's going to use
Mixed martial arts?
Mixed martial arts.
Yeah.
And I mean, obviously, Pounce from the Shadows. I mean, that's what he was attempting to do anyway.
Heck
so,
yeah.
And I don't know if he's using anything. Oh, I actually have, like, I think he's, like, not got his, like, nunchucks. It says he has nunchucks, actually.
Yep.
So they're still at his side, but he does have claws. It says.
Yeah. So you sort of.
So it's like
display?
yeah, he's like extracting his claws to sort of, like, you know, make his grip more menacing and, like, really catch him in his grasp. Right.
Totally buy that. So you can take that as well, and then go ahead and make your roll for go toe to toe. Ooh. So here's what happens.
2 ones in a row.
Oh my goodness! All right,
my
so you leave that.
goodness.
Well, I guess, you know, for one thing, you're missing 1 power on that. One of your things didn't get. Oh no, you're not, because you had he was forewarned.
-1.
So yeah, that I think what we see is that he, you know, his head kind of clicks to the side as Flalock's like, you know, Madre Dios, trying to pull himself out of the sandbox mud. You spin, you land, you know, snarl. You take on this hideous visage. And what he does is he turns to you, and there is a piping and trilling, kind of like sound that comes from his flute as he steps off and kicks the carousel as well too, which also has this winding screech to it. And it is he's trying to use his influence on you. So the status here is going to be a status 4. What would we say that this would be? I think it'll be ensorcelled. Now you can, of course, as a reaction, always try and face the danger, to try and either resist or get rid of that status or reduce the status.
Yeah, I think I would probably try to do that.
So that 4 represents a -4 to Baku's attempts to resist.
Yeah, it'll be -4. But what he can do is, if he gets a full success on this, he ignores it altogether. If he gets a partial success, he reduces it by 1. So, what are we thinking is going to be Baku's way of resisting?
Well, I mean, I think obviously there's two here. Adapting to my praise abilities.
Hell yes.
And so, you know, just hearing the music, it's like it almost empowers him as much as it ensorcels him, right?
Yeah.
And the second one is he has instinctive dodge, and so I think that it's like I don't know how he would necessarily. Well, maybe, because it's hard to block the sound, right?
I think if maybe you've got when your hoodie falls back, we see you've got headphones on.
Yeah, totally. Right, because it's instinctive.
Yep.
Right. It's supernatural, his ability to be prepared for this kind of thing.
Okay. Anything else you can think of?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. So then go ahead and try and resist this.
So that's face danger, right?
Yes, face the danger.
Oh, beautiful.
Nice.
All right. So what do we see
nice.
from Baku as this thing is trilling away? Like it hits you like a physical wave, almost like it's trying to seize control of you.
Well, I think it's exactly like the scene you describe. It's like he jumps down, he misses with the attack, and this guy pulls out this pipe, and as sort of Baku lands and his hood falls away, you see that he's wearing headphones and he's got music on or whatever, you know.
Nice.
And it's sort of like, and it's all instinctual, right? He didn't know what his prey was going to do this, but sort of his mythos did maybe have some clue, right? So
awesome. Let's turn the spotlight to Lily.
So I'm thinking Lily. Part of Lily's persona is she tends to be late, And I'm thinking one of the reasons she arrived with Baku in the first place is Baku said, why don't you come to my place first? Because he knows otherwise they'll all be waiting for Lily for like 20 minutes.
Yep.
So we'll go together. How about that? Oh, okay. Her kind of cluelessly good natured, like, oh, that's so sweet of him.
It's a shame.
No.
Brent wasn't here. Brent could have played Lily quite well.
Yeah. So as part of this, and the reason I came up with that is because, so she probably looks over at Baku, I think, at the beginning when Baku leaps off the fire escape and is just about to say, ooh, creepy, who's that guy? And so Baku's just gone, right? And she's like, what? And so she goes, ooh, creepier, meaning something's going down here, So she looks up and goes, Hans, and so she's calling for Hans. So so it says Lily must call Hans 3 times is a weakness tag to summon him. So
I can the way that either you or I can trigger that for the purpose of today. Assume that only I will trigger it.
Oh, okay.
I'll trigger that if you're trying to do something really quick and Hans isn't there yet, I can impose that. Like in this case, if you're trying to do something real quick to suddenly get Hans there, although I think we sort of narrated him into the scene already as keeping you dry, right? Mm-hmm. So
yeah. But I do think she's, and I'm fine with, obviously it's not helpful for everyone else too if I'm not in the mix. But I'm that she's catching up. She's like, oh, what's going on?
Absolutely. If you choose to do to sort of just hang back and see what happens, that's totally fine. You don't have to do anything.
Let's see.
Because what you can do is you can pass a spotlight to somebody else if you'd like.
I think she'll be a little bit self-centered here. And she'll be late and a little self-centered, and she tries to encase Lily in protective energy.
Okay.
So she's surprised that something's going down, so she immediately goes Hans, and for Hans to go,
sure. So let's do this. So that can just narratively happen, or if you want to work the system, what that might be is trying to change the game and get some juice. This would be something.
Let's do that.
Yeah.
Let's just for fun, and also it might who knows, but it might end up being what I originally was thinking was that she's got to hang out up there while she's dealing with Hans. Where are you? Where are you?
Well, and just as a narrative thing too, it's been children her age that have been going missing. So Hans may be particularly protective of seeing this thing come there and immediately turn on Baku, right? He may immediately slam his ghostly hands together, pull them back, and there's a protective bubble around Lily.
Yeah. And I think he's more on the ball than Lily. Lily's a little clueless, but Hans isn't.
Love it. Yeah. All right, so let's take a look at what tags here. This sounds like it, unless you tell me otherwise, that you're going to change the game, try and get some juice to add a status. Yep. Okay.
Yep. And then in case Lily is a tag.
Yep, for sure.
And then let's see. Let's see. Pursuers, good advice. Basic self-defense under an unusual big brother.
It sounds like Lily's not the one who's acting on this. It sounds like it's him. But if
sounds
you
good.
let's say one of the ways that you can trigger the power tags as well is by adding some narrative flourish to it. Mm-hmm. So let's say that it appears like a Chinese gong or a Chinese bell. Maybe he's actually transforming the environment with that.
Okay. Yeah.
So in which case, transforming the environment would be ticked as well too.
Okay.
I might even allow knowledge of the arcane arts, maybe?
Yeah.
If it's a protective...
I mean, she's calling on him, so I skipped it, but if you think so.
Yeah, your choice. So then what you're doing is just ticking those tabs and click on Change the Game. See what happens.
Yep. I'm going to skip that one this time because I think she's kind of catching up with the whole situation.
Sure. Yeah.
And all right, and I got -1, right? Because of the status, that one status that one.
The forewarned only applies when it makes sense. Forewarned, I would add because Baku was trying to get a surprise on him, and unfortunately, because of Tlaloc's complication, he was forewarned. That's not going to apply to you.
Got it. Okay, so we're all good, and let's see. I should have. Oh shoot. Let's see. I think I messed myself up. In case Lily and also the other one, which is these are a little tricky. Transform the environment and rolling. Here we go. Roll. It's up
top right.
Top right.
Top right or top. I'm sorry. Top left of your.
Change the game.
Yes.
Got it.
There you go.
There we go.
10. Excellent.
Nice.
Yeah. So what do you think now? Your option is to, you can bank that as juice. You can create a story tag, which might be like protective charms, maybe. It could be scale up the effect. So like your protective thing, maybe the protection on you will count as an extra 2 power against this thing's ensorceling, whatever that strange fluting does. What do you think?
I'm picturing it that she's going to be impatient and a little impetuous. So she's Hans, oh my God, Hans, and then the hand kind of bumps into her and it bumps her back as it goes in front of her.
Okay,
it was actually blocking the rain. It's right there, Lily. My goodness, seriously. And then boom, like it goes in front of her, and she can see through it. Like it's it's ethereal, it's whatever. But
so what do you think? Is that adding a story tag, something that you could draw on, or?
Let's see. I'm thinking that. Did you say that it gives -2 to like something that tries to affect her?
Yeah. So like what you could describe it as is like protective enchantment.
Yes, like that. Yeah.
Okay. So then you on your character sheet, the status you can put down there.
Yeah.
Put it as a story tag, protective enchantment. And it's a rating of 2, and we know it's a 2 because of your power.
Cool.
Okay. Then let's pause for a moment. So with Baku having shaken off this thing, Tlaloc having arrived, Lily having appeared, this thing turns to you, Baku, and he says, and in contrast to the beautiful sound of his flute, his voice is low and guttural and ugly. And he says, "Took you long enough to find me."
Longer than usual, yes.
So many children to follow my tune. I would have
Taking
thought.
your last child from this neighborhood.
Really? And he puts his foot out, and the creaking of the carousel stops. But there's a strange squeaking that's still going on. And we stand there for a moment, and you can hear the squeaking is getting closer. And on his face, he's got it's not a smile. I don't think that this creature is capable of a smile. But it's a snarl and a smirk combined. Let's put the spotlight back to Tlaloc and find out what he's doing. So Tlaloc, you've got yourself, you seem to be hidden, but this thing seems to be in a standoff with Baku. Would you like to do something?
Yes, is the music still going?
No, with the flute away from his mouth, his attention seems to be focused on Baku, and you can hear the squeaking of something around you.
Well, I was going to make more thunder and lightning to distract it, but since he stopped, and it seems that flute is his source of power, I'm going to try to pickpocket it. I have this tag combo: pickpocket someone in the rain. I'm going to try to grab it, knock it out of his hand.
Oh, grab the flute, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay. So I think that's going toe-to-toe.
Oh, is it toe-to-toe?
Because he certainly wouldn't want you to do that.
I have turned myself into water, traveled between body of water, and sticky fingers.
Oh, so the tag combos are just examples.
Yeah.
But
I'm using them as inspiration.
Okay. Pickpocket
someone
in the rain, I get it. Okay. Turn yourself into water, travel between bodies of water, sticky fingers, and shadow and observe. Excellent. I don't
know if shadow and observe applies. Although maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, because you're hidden in the shadows right now.
I got a partial success.
Now,
okay.
The forewarned status is going to give a -1 to that. So tick off all those ones that you mentioned and the -1.
And then add the -1.
Yeah, and then click on go toe-to-toe. Let's see what happens.
Go toe-to-toe, okay. Oh.
Fantastic.
Cool. Okay.
So what do we see here?
Oh, do I see like Lily, like the greenish?
You probably see a
glow of
greenish
the-
glow on like either in
I'm gonna
an
try to
alleyway or a
slap that
building.
flute. I'm gonna try to slap that flute towards her,
Okay.
so Baku doesn't have to worry about it. Can focus on beating this dude up, and then
Okay.
I don't know. Maybe Lily's good. Well, yeah, maybe Lily can play the flute. I don't know. She's from a nice part of town. They
So
have music
here we go.
classes. They have music classes there.
Okay. I'm going to impose a status Piper without his pipes of 3.
Nice.
So you, what's called, and Baku, you sort of see out of nowhere, Tlaloc grabs the flute, is gone. The hunted man kind of turns around, and Tlaloc, you sort of casually toss it over your shoulder, and it lands right next to you, Lily. Do you say anything, Tlaloc?
I say that's enough music for now.
Okay. The sound of squeaking gets louder, and he says, "My flute is gone, but my choir will be here soon." Baku,
Okay.
I think Spotlight will turn to you. Would you like to do something?
Yeah, I mean, I was going to try to sort of maybe intimidate him or get him off his game, but I think that Tlaloc already accomplished that. So now I think I'm going to try and, now I'm going to hit him. So I'm going to actually take my nunchucks off my side and going to try and maybe knock him unconscious. So maybe whatever's coming won't be under his control.
Sure.
If I can render him unconscious.
Absolutely. So let's. That sounds to me like you are hitting him with all you've got.
Yeah.
That sound right? So what are we gonna add
So
to
he's
that?
using his nunchucks. He's literally trying to.
Yep. They're spinning around in the rain, flying on like this water flying off the tips of the.
Yeah, and I almost imagine that when Baku makes a move like this, his mythos, the chimera, almost like actually visually appears and takes a bite out of the sort of the mystic side of the opponent at the same time. And so like the nightmare devouring maws, like this is where I imagine they come into effect. Like they are trying to like fight back against his evil.
Yep. I buy that. So Nunchaku for sure. Nightmare devouring maws. I think mixed martial arts sensei comes in.
Yeah, because he's exactly.
And then you did describe having your horns and claws and husks out before.
Yeah.
Is that coming in as well? Like part of your kicks and whatnot? Your cloven feet, your clawed hands, or are you relying strictly on your weapons?
I think in this case he's trying to basically land more like a called shot, right? He's not like it's not a flurry of blows. Other than I mean maybe he tries to trip him or whatever first, but mostly he is trying to connect the wooden stick of the nunchuck right on the skull and render him unconscious.
Sure. So yeah, that sounds good. And
so roll hit with all you've got.
I'm trying to decide if we didn't deal with the forewarned tag yet, so I think he's gonna get that as a modifier.
Okay.
But other than that, then you're good to go. Hit it with all you got.
Okay.
Nice. Incredible. All right. So, status 2 power. What are you thinking?
I guess it would be some sort of leading to a knockout. So like, do you change them? Like, can I call it staggered 2 or something?
Yeah. So it could be staggered 2 he's got now. And you also get to choose 2 of those things. Now, if you're talking about like getting in a good position, that could be what the juice is. Maybe because you get to choose 2 of those, you could get 2 juice that's just like beneficial positioning, and your next action, or someone else's maybe, you could feed that juice in and that'll get
Right,
+2.
to just give them a bonus. Yeah, I think so for sure. Let's take the juice.
Okay, so what do we see that gets this creature down?
Yeah, well, I think maybe I used the merry-go-round that he had been using against us, and maybe sort of trip him and push him so he's kind of fallen back into the metal arms of the merry-go-round.
Yeah, and then with a quick back kick, it starts spinning around. He's like, wow, and spinning around on this thing. And here's the squeaking is getting even louder now. Let's turn the spotlight to Lily. You see this. Baku is engaged with this thing. Hans has got this barrier on you, and you look down. Tlaloc seems to have engaged with this as well. Do you wish to do something?
I think that Lily. In what shape do I think? What shape do I see this? This creepy-looking guy.
He's just been knocked off. He tried to fight with Baku. Baku turned more like you saw him manifesting a chimeric creature as well on sort of like a mythic plane, and it dug into this thing, and you heard the squeak of a rat. And then Baku landed a couple solid kicks, smashed him across the face with his nunchucks, spun around and knocked him onto the carousel, and it's now kind of like kind of squeaking and moving around with him on it.
Does it look like do I think that guy's kind of out of it, or is he still in the fight?
Nope. So mechanically, what I can tell you is that you haven't inflicted a status on him that'll bring him out yet. Player characters need a 6 status to put them out. The adversaries or other things are called dangers. They need a status equal to whatever their score is, and you haven't hit there just yet.
Okay, so Lily is going to. So she's looking through Hans's hand, like the giant hand that's in front of her, and she sees Tlaloc knock the flute out of his hand.
Yep.
And she goes, "Ooh, good idea." And she looks up and says, "You got 2 hands, right, Hans?" And so she's looking for Hans to come down and smash his other hand down on top of the guy sprawled on the carousel.
Where do you picture yourself being right now?
I don't think she moved. I don't know what the range.
Like, were you on the edge of the? It's all narrative, so like think of it. They talk a lot about in the game about like think of it cinematic, and like that's sort of the best way to think of things is that how far away you. It doesn't really matter. It's like. If in a cool sort of action sequence in a film or movie or whatnot, or a TV show, if you're on the ground and he's done that, then maybe you're like, Hans, and we could see now that Hans is actually close enough to keep one hand in front of you and then smash another hand down.
Yep. No, I think that's the case.
Okay. Hans is also a magical giant, so there's no... we don't necessarily need to set a defined height for him yet.
He's a giant.
Yeah. So,
well, and maybe his size scales a little too. Like
like scales with how you think about it.
Yeah.
Hans smash him, and he gets bigger, and his arm.
So you're left behind
out.
with a hand there. He steps, and there's like a shadow image of his hand that comes behind, protecting you. What tags do you think are going to go into this?
Let's see. So this sounds like hit with all you've got. Do you think that's correct?
Sounds about right.
And so strength of 1,000 men. And let's see here. I'm thinking more than before. Maybe now knowledge of the arcane arts.
So that one I'm not sure. The way you described it is that he's just imposing physical damage. Yeah. I would think that indignant might apply because the way you phrase it of like Hans, take him down. That strikes me as indignant.
Yeah.
And because you're applying his body as a crushing force, I think indestructible energy body would apply.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Indestructible. Yep.
I just don't know. Like you weren't describing any specific application of the knowledge of the arcane here.
Yeah.
Like you're not unweaving anything or like creating a spell on him or something like that. So.
Yep. Cool.
Yep. So that seems like 3 tags on there.
Yep.
This.
Any minuses?
I think the forewarned is still in play here, so it'd be -1.
Okay.
Because no one's changed the environment to get rid of that, or changed the game to get rid of it. Although that's something you could have done with your juice in retrospect, Jeff. You could have one to get rid of a.
Oh, right. Yeah. You can spend it to cancel story tags.
No, I don't think you can with hit with all you got. You know, fuck it. Well, you can do that. I'm fine with that. Spend
no,
one.
but I thought isn't that? Oh, you can't do that with juice. Isn't that one of Juice's things? No.
Oh yeah, you're right. No, you can spend juice to do that. So you could spend one. And honestly, if you want to spend the juice for Lily for this hit with all you've got, that would add another +1.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's keep it going. So
okay. So Lily, you're going to have a -1 and then a +2. No, sorry, never ignore that. Just a +1 because Baku has gotten rid of that advantage.
Okay. Okay, and we're good to go, right?
Yep.
All right.
And great success. Oh. So
yeah, it's the children aspect that got Hans kind of riled.
Yeah. So what you hear? So you got 2 extra ones. I can tell you that. What do you think the power that's being applied on him, the status that's being applied on him is? Like pulverized or something like that? Yeah,
smashed. You know, it's just like a big old...
So the whole thing is crushed and crumpled underneath. That is the second power 3 status that's been applied on him, which means he now has a power 4. And he is gone. What you can also add 2 other things here. So you could get extra juice. You know, so like if... I don't know, like if someone was suffering from some kind of condition, let's say Baku was left with a lingering, ensorcelled condition, you could have spent 2 juice from that to reduce that by 2. So that he would look, whoa, whatever spell he had on him. But he is done, and I think what you guys see is that it's still sort of wobbling around, but the metal bars and whatnot that make up the carousel have been crushed down on top of the hunted man, and he's just, completely not moving.
And maybe a little something unidentifiable comes squeezing out between the giant's fingers, like, ooh. No, it's part of the, man.
Yeah. And I think, so Baku, how do Baku and Tlaloc react to this pulverizing that Iron Hans just did?
I think Baku's concerned that he's maybe killed the man, and we needed to try and squeeze him for information about where are these children still alive? Where are they?
Yeah.
So a concern is Baku's.
So his eyes snap to Lily, who's encased in that. How about Tlaloc?
Tlaloc are those rats or vermin still coming?
So you're looking around. Yeah, you can hear the squeaking coming in, but slowly what happens is as it reaches sort of the edge of the light of the thing, you can hear it change into voices. And what comes running in first is one of the missing kids. And then another one, and another, and another. And what was coming rushing in that seemed to sound like a horde of rats is actually every one of the missing kids.
Oh, weird. Okay. Well, I'm going to try to maybe talk to them. I guess they're all from around this neighborhood, right?
Yeah, every single one of them is, and if you take a head count, you realize every single one of the kids who's been missing, and there's about 14 of them that have been missing, every single one of them has been saved.
Well, I'm going to try to calm them down, tell them to come out, and we'll see if they're okay and stuff like that. I don't.
Yeah.
Try to use my soothing voice. I don't know if I need to roll anything.
No. You guys, you guys have got success here. So the thing is gone, or at least
I don't think. And I look over my shoulder and I say, Baku, I don't think we need this vile thing to talk. The kids are here.
Sean, I'll leave it to you. Did Hans kill this guy? Or is he still alive?
I think he probably did, and it's because of the and it probably acted maybe even a little more ferocious than Lily expected, because of the children aspect that is so far not fleshed out, but has to do with Hans and Lily's relationship. And so Hans wasn't having it, and he was already on his way to to crush that guy anyway, and waiting for the let Lily look big, and did it at her command because of whatever, fine Lily, this kind of thing. So I think he's dead. He's smashed.
So yeah, Baku, you look over and you can see the broken and twisted remains, and your supernatural sense can tell you that the mythic connection, the rift that was the fusing of this man and the mythic, is completely gone, and it is just a dead transient who is left in the middle of this thing, still slowly moving around.
I think Lily sees Baku's look of concern and not surprisingly misunderstands and goes, "Baku, don't get squeamish on me. That guy was a creep."
So as Baku, I think Baku makes eye contact with you, and Jeff, tell me if I got this wrong. I think his concern is probably more with Iron Hans. So if he looks up at Iron Hans, what's the look that Iron Hans has as he's looking down at Baku?
I think probably unconcerned. I don't think, Hans is like on a different, I don't know what the right nomenclature is, but, kind of on a different plane. Like, Hans does what Hans does. Let's not be, he doesn't look down on everyone. It's just not really germane. It's just inapplicable. Like, whatever, he's just moving on. Whatever, think what you think. He looks around. He's fine with it, but he's not too concerned about people's expressions. Give me a break, kind of a thing.
Okay. Yeah. Baku, what do you make of that?
Well, it is what it is. I think I've probably seen this ferocious side of the giant before, and Hans, and so he's, maybe not to this level, so but I guess I kind of have an understanding. Like you said, the children were involved. It sort of was obvious to all of them that this was a heavier case in some ways than a lot of our ones we've had.
Yeah.
I think at this point I'm much more concerned now with keeping the children away from the body.
Sure.
Curious kids and whatnot, and they don't need to see that.
Well, I'm picturing Tlaloc is such a charming motherfucker that I think he's completely got the kids.
Yeah, I can probably get him not mesmerized, but at least look at the pretty lights and make spark and electricity.
Yeah.
So maybe I'm thinking maybe I take my hoodie off and I rip it and I cover the body with it, but I'm quite sad because it's like my second last dojo hoodie or whatever. I'm running out of clothes to wear.
Now there is a place nearby that you think you could probably get these kids some food too. It's a bar, but it's a bar that these kids seem hungry, and
people, and
it'll take time for them to get their kids back.
Yeah.
Or what do you think? And I think probably the owner of the bar is someone that you guys know, and they would be hooked in with Tlaloc. You probably know this better. They'll be able to get in touch with the parents of these various missing kids and come pick them up at this place.
Yeah.
And much as you may like the rain and that it's suitable, the kids are going to be drenched pretty quickly here. So.
And maybe it's not that Hans doesn't realize what's going on. He doesn't overly care, but he noticed. So at that point, maybe his hand moves over the kids.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
And gives Baku a little look, like, no, I know what's going on. Even though I don't look like I care because I don't. I know what you're thinking. And he puts his hand over the.
Yeah, that's great. So, our scene cuts to the inside of...
Oh, real quick before we leave that scene, Kev, I just want to say that Baku gathers the flute. Maybe he's got a little trophy area or a little evidence area where he keeps these sort of mementos.
Nice. I love it. So, what I think we'll do is let's cut to the bar. Now, what do you think the name of the bar is, guys?
I'm going to say it's called The Hole.
The Hole? Okay.
Yeah.
So there is a mid-40s woman who she used to own the place with the husband, but the husband passed away, so she runs the place now on her own. There's a couple of people in here, but this is about as busy as it usually is. So the kids are all sort of at that back table, bringing out some of the greasiest food that you can, like typical pub grub kind of stuff. But the kids are all digging into burgers and stuff like that.
So is Lily.
Oh yeah, Lily's.
Oh my gosh, I love this place.
And we see
They got
through
some
that
good
window
burgers for
outside a big
for
green
bar and grill.
eye. Oh, what was that?
Gotta try their. They have really good burgers for a grill.
Yeah,
Gotta try
okay, I'm in.
Some of their Thai noodles.
And I think Hans
It's
is
very.
gone.
I feel like this place is very like. There's a lot of fusion of different cuisines. It's very like a melting pot. Right?
Yeah, yeah.
We got burgers with ramen or pseudo Thai food, right?
Sure, yeah, absolutely.
Lily's making a pick of herself, and I think Hans is gone, or at least unvisible to anyone but her. But she, says, "Hans, feel free." It's ridiculous, but she's just.
And where's Baku?
I think you see Baku, and he, reaches into his pocket and he pulls out like, a crumpled one and some coins, and he's counting them up and just, kind of puts it back in his pocket. And maybe he's just sort of lingering around, waiting to see if some of the kids like don't finish the food that Talak gets them. And,
Yeah.
he's just sort of lingering around. He's,
So, Baku, you are setting off. Everyone is sort of, Tlalok's entertaining the kids, and Lily's sitting down with them, and the owner of the bar is sort of off, doing her own thing. No other member, patron is really doing much. And that's when the smell hits you. Ooh. It's a scent of a cigar. And like no one's, even in Sod, people know better than to smoke indoors here, and certainly not a fucking cigar. And because of your really keen senses, there's an undertone of sweet rum. It smells like it's coming from, there's like a darkened kind of hallway that leads to the bathrooms, and then sort of like the service door to like deliver food and shit like that.
Yeah, and I think that Baku at times he runs on such level of like instinct and his senses that he almost just starts following the scent, almost subconsciously, right? He's wandering off towards it. Obviously, he's always quiet and cautious and sort of hiding in the shadow. He's not just brazenly following it, but he is moving towards it.
Okay. So you make your way over towards that, and you're, the hairs on your neck that kind of go up when you sense the supernatural are all up as you get closer. And the smell of rum and cigar is even stronger. You walk up to this hallway, and like the walls are painted dark in this stretch of the bar. There's fluorescent lights. There's two sets that lead their way down this hallway. Men's on the left, women's on the right. The entrance to the alleyway at the back. The one closest to the alleyway is burned out, and you don't seem to remember it being burned out before. But then you see a short figure. You see the glow of the lit tip of a cigar fly up, and then a cloud of smoke sort of fill the end of the end of the hallway. You also can see very briefly through the little bit of light that reflects off the back of the door. Maybe there's an exit sign above too, a red exit sign.
Yeah, the old red exit sign.
Yeah, that sort of illuminates. This for sure is, well, for one thing, this figure has a bottle in one hand and takes a swig out of it. But it stands maybe about 5 feet tall and has the same willowy and small frame of the kids.
Oh. I think before I head down the hallway, Baku takes his nunchucks off of his, belt or whatever. He's got the chain on there, and he's got this move that he does where he spins it around and then he catches it so that they clack together really quite loud, almost like a loud clap or a snap. And it's sort of a sound that maybe the other two characters have heard before. It's sort of a signal of like, there's danger, or it's his danger signal or whatever.
Okay.
So he sort of makes this loud noise. Whether they hear it or not, I don't know. But then he'll head down the hall. Like he'll put his nunchucks back on his belt, so he sort of picks them up, makes this sound, and puts it back, and then he'll start striding down the hallway.
You can hear, so as soon as you do that, there's that clack, and we'll hear from Tlaloc and Lily in a second to see if they've heard it. But what you hear from this figure is a low and guttural kind of laugh.
Call them over.
You're not the first one to laugh at me tonight.
So I've heard.
And again, puff on the cigar. Now, Lily and Tlaloc, do you think you would have heard Baku's symbol or sound that like troubles afoot?
I mean, I don't know if we've worked with him before, but it is a sound that is out of place.
Yeah. So if you
And
look
it's
over,
coming from that smell, right?
yeah, and you see.
Tlaloc looks at the barkeep smoking cigars.
So the thing is, you actually don't smell it. Neither you nor Lily.
Okay, I thought we smelled it.
No, only Baku has smelled it so far.
Okay. Well, I mean, it's definitely a sound that's out of place. I mean, I'm gonna investigate.
And I think
Tell the bar person to look after the kids.
as a wheeler and dealer, I think that you notice when someone's sort of like someone's squaring up for a fight. Mm-hmm. And Baku, the way he's facing down the hallway and like takes a step down, this is a guy who seems like he's not spoiling for but ready for a fight.
Yep.
What about Lily?
So I think a big new bowl of deep fried hot dogs has arrived with breaded, and her eyes get wide, and she looks up at the kids' eyes wide, and they share a moment like, "Oh my God, I love this place." And she's about to reach, and she hears that sound, but she's like, "Oh, but the hot dogs," and she feels this pull on the back of her collar, like, "Oh, Hans." Yeah, Hans, you're bothering me. And okay. And she looks at the kids. Do not eat all those. And she, leave some for me. And she swirls her legs over the bench, missing the kids. And like, what? And strides off in the direction of.
And you can see that Tlaloc is heading off in that direction as well too.
Okay, she goes, which makes her feel better. Like I'm not completely wasting my time missing the hot dogs.
So, Baku, cutting back to you, as you take a couple steps down, so you sort of, if we were viewing this from above, right, there's like the lit end of the hallway that you are, and there's the other end, and you're taking maybe about 2 steps down this hallway, you're about a third of the way down, when this figure holds up its hand in the darkness, and you can see it silhouetted against the red of the exit light.
No closer. I'm not here for a fight. Not yet.
And what do you want?
I want your help.
And Lily and Tlaloc, I think you guys arrive at this point, and that's when the smell of, and maybe Lily wouldn't recognize the smell of rum, but there's a sickly, maybe what it reminds her of is, one Christmas with her parents, some fancy chocolates that were on the table, and she took a bite of one that she didn't know and got a mouthful of rum, and was like, that's the stink that hits her nose. Tlaloc, you absolutely recognize this as a really spicy rum, and both of you recognize the heavy odor of a cigar. And
so Lily's thinking, her nose crinkles automatically at the smell. But she's trying to decide if she likes it or not. She's pretty sure she doesn't, but she's spending too much time on it. She's in thought, like, she's overthinking. What's that guy doing? She's just, she's lost in her own thoughts a little bit.
So the person who's at the end of the hallway is about your height, Lily, as well too. And
she might mistake him for a kid.
So you look, and it looks like honestly, with the longer hair, it looks like a girl. She's got like a hoodie on and is dressed otherwise like a young kid. From the silhouette, you can see.
I didn't know girls smoked, and she was, she's thinking nonsensical, interesting, but.
Well, and I think then what this thing then speaks again, and both of you hear this voice. Now, the voice has a strong Caribbean accent, but I'm not going to do that because it's going to come across as fucking cartoon. But that is what you can picture this voice having. Same depth, but it's got that strong, Caribbean, some might even identify as Haitian, accent to it. Now, what this figure says,
I don't want to fight. I want your help and to give you a gift.
I like gifts. He's a friend of yours, Baku?
he gestures at with the tip of the cigar towards Lily and says,
You should listen to her. She wants to help. She likes gifts, and I've got many.
You're kind of creepy, but I like gifts.
and again puffs on the cigar, which is getting shorter now too, and you can start seeing a little bit of the face.
We prefer to take cash payment.
No cash. Much more valuable.
The way things work out here isn't you scratch my back, I scratch yours. The other way around. We scratch your back, you scratch ours.
A little different. How'd you like, instead of the back, the heart?
I have no idea what he's talking about. Do you guys know what he's talking about?
Do you like? I guess
figure-
we're all like these, like you said, aspects or whatever. Do we recognize this person, this creature? Like what?
You've never met anything like this before, but I mean, the Flalock, why don't we do this? Like maybe let's do once per game. You guys are entitled to do flashback, which is sort of like thing. So this might be let's say an investigate. Okay, because I think it's that of all the moves, that's probably the thing. And let's see here. A relentless schmoozer, I think.
Small time fixer.
Small time fixer, yeah, I think I'd buy that. And I think I'm going to give you another +1 just because, not for one of your tags, because of your, like, man of the neighborhood kind of nature.
Yep.
So give yourself a random +1. Go ahead.
Oh, like another tag, just.
Yeah. Oh, here's another thing you could do too, is
see.
you can just draw. There's an ability to try and get clues, which is just drawing on your mythos. You sort of like search the mythos. You might like tap into your the godly nature or the pantheon or something like that to try and get an answer.
Yeah, I mean, Shalok, Aztec god, Caribbean. I don't know. They border.
Yeah, like I don't want to be too, but I mean, I think what it is yeah. So I mean, either of those two things. You think you'd tap into your mystic nature to see if you can recognize game for game, as it were? Sure.
Yeah,
So then,
this to me has like a very American Gods vibe. This game. So.
yeah. So what you can do is tap on your cinematic.
The character card.
Cinematic. Yeah, at the top here where it says cinematic moves.
Yeah.
Click on that.
Okay.
Now what you're going to do is
Flashback.
Not flashback. It'll be. I'm trying to remember what it's called here. Let me grab my.
There's finally some answers.
I don't think it's that.
Oh, I geek out during the credits. That's gonna be
It's
fun.
awesome. Yeah, it's a cool way of. The game does a really great job of giving you interesting things to do game-wise through all the things. It is. Let's see here.
So do I click on the Mythos card at all, or whatever?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of how you get which card it is that does, which move it is. That's the Mythos one. That's with Logos. Oh, click on Montage. Let's see what happens with that. I honestly don't know. Montage. Explore your mythos. So here's what you see, I think, is let's just do this, because you're going to be able to do this, and I'm sick of fucking around. You sort of look at this thing, and what would we see that would recognize you or would represent you sort of tapping into the wider, mystic nature of your godhood?
So maybe like a council of aspects and deities over some sort of stylized map of Mexico, Central America, and the Caribbean, parsing out
Sure.
worshippers, for lack of a better term, and then this guy there maybe sitting in the corner, much like he is now.
So what you can see, is rather than standing, you actually see someone slumping down, the bottle of rum in one hand, a cigar in another, and a deep barrel laugh. And you see this. Baron Samedi.
Okay.
Chief of the Loa. Most powerful of the Voodoo or Santiera gods. God of the dead as well, too. Trickster. And you can see that looming over. And as this thing, you see that, you can hear this small form, again, laugh with a deep... You see me. I see you. And now this form steps forward. And in contrast to the mystical perspective that you had on this thing, Tlaloc, what steps forward is probably a 15-year-old girl. And immediately her name comes from your lips, Baku, because she is one of your students.
Oh.
What's her name?
I think her name's Molly.
And what does Molly look like normally?
I think she's kind of a scrawny kid, and dark hair, and maybe she's like she trains pretty hard though, so she's always got like a bruise or two, and a few cuts on her knuckles because she's determined.
Yeah.
Dojo.
So as she brings the bottle of rum up to her mouth and swigs it back, you can see the bruising on her knuckles from today's sparring. But the thing is, she looks so much more pale than you've seen her. And the thing that really draws, once she steps into the flickering fluorescent light, you can see the giant crimson stain across her chest from where the gunshot wound is that killed her. Looking directly up at you, Baku, and seeing the recognition, and he says, Hunter, find the Gravekeeper, find my body, and I'll give this one back to you. And then, almost like a light going out, the expression on her face goes, changes, drops to nothing. There's the smash of the bottle hitting the ground and the thump of her lifeless body hitting the surface. And you can hear in your ear, Baku, as the Loa retreats, you have till sunrise. And guys, why don't we take our mid-session break here?
Okay.
So we'll be back. For those listening at home, we'll be back momentarily to see what happens next. So back momentarily, folks. All right. Now. Okay, now I think I've got a handout in here as well for, let's see, walk through, nope, don't need that. MC. Ah, here we go. Great. For those who are joining us today, too, thanks so much for joining us for this City of Mist one-shot of Voodoodunnit.
So the dice are D12?
2d6s.
Oh, so they have like a... In my box, there's two 12-sided dice, though.
No, they're actually d6s. They're really weird-looking d6s.
Oh.
Yeah, yeah. Is it the starter set? Like, do you have the one with these characters?
Yeah, the same.
It's a beautiful set of dice, too, right?
Yeah, it's pretty cool looking. Yeah, it's a purpley one and a...
Yeah, because one of those...
they just have sixes repeated? I don't know.
Yeah.
And they have like a, what's a lightning bolt for? That's a 6. Okay.
Well, one is...
I gotcha.
Yeah, one is the mythos, one is the logos.
Okay.
So the next thing...
Yeah, they're like, but they're 12-sided, 6-sided. I mean, they're 12-sided. They're dodecahedrons, but they have 6 numbers on them. Mine are.
Yeah, it's cool stuff. All right, it's one of my favorite. Both of them, to be honest, have been some of my favorite starter sets. Like the previous one was really good as well too. The character sheets are nicer in this one, but they're still pretty good in the previous one as well. they've done a great job.
I guess I think they've also, I mean, it's a great product. They've suffered from this print product backlog, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
Like Knights of Paintown and the Shadows on Sundown or something like that.
Yeah, I think it's not Knights of Paintown, but the other one, the supplement, it had a ton of really cool stuff in it. I got the PDF, but I haven't got the print version yet.
Yep. Yeah, I have the PDFs of all that stuff.
Okay, so what we're going to cut to now, guys, is we're going to cut to outside of this bar with no name.
That's called the Hole.
The Hole.
Oh, the Hole. Forgive me. No, the Hole. Yeah. No, we'll stay in the Hole for now. What I'm going to show you here, guys, is we're going to transition into, because we're going between scenes, sometimes between scenes we can transition to something called a montage. And I'm going to show you what this is here. So here's the montage. This is in an ongoing game. This is for sometimes, like, if you need to deal with one of your, if you're dealing with ongoing, what do you call it, tags or ongoing statuses. Like, let's say that if Baku had still been lingering problems with that Piper's influence, he could have used his montage for this. The thing I'm going to suggest that you might want to think of is working the case. And what this is an opportunity to gain 3 clues. Clues are your opportunity to ask me questions, and I give you answers. But what you also need to do is tell us what the method and source of the information is, because that will inform us whether you can get that information or not. Like, whether this is something you get from. You can't say, like, hey, where do I find this guy? And then you say it's from, I don't know, your contact on the police force, let's say. Unless this person is known to the police, they may not be able to give you that information. So, I guess, hold on. There's actually there might be another way to handle this. We might be just able to use investigate. Let's take a look here.
Investigate, yeah.
Yeah. So let's drop back into the scene immediately afterwards. I think what you guys are brought back to sort of the... Yeah, let's use investigate. I like the proactive, the thing where it's you guys actually doing stuff. You're brought back to sort of reality as the scream of the bar owner. Kind of like, oh my God! So what do we think has happened in the interim? Well, when we come back into the scene in the Hole, what do we think has happened? Like, how the paramedics come to take this body away, or what are you thinking, guys? Baku, this is the one that we'll start with a spotlight on you. We'll let you kind of describe for us what we're coming back into.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see that. Like, Baku maybe has belief that this Baron character could actually bring Molly back, so I don't think that he wants to involve the paramedics or the police or anything like that, right? At least until the sun comes up. And so I don't know that we would have necessarily brought her out into the bar. We would have maybe either stepped into the men's room or something like that.
And if you guys don't want to have I think the way I've described I keep thinking Erica is the name of the bar owner. So I think if Erica, the owner of the Hole, if she just kind of screams and reacts, you guys can choose to change the game to try and take that status away. I think what the status would be, like, status 1 or status 2,
alarm.
Call the police.
Yeah. I actually think then that would probably be the first thing that Baku would try to do.
Okay. So let's put that down here. Call the police 2. I'll bet you there's a better way to do this in the game, but I can't think of what it is right now.
Convince. There's a convince.
Oh, is tracking tokens here? Let's see here. What is this? Status.
Yeah, there is convince.
There's a convince core move.
Oh, check this out. This is status. Here we go.
Oh, there you go.
What happened? Where are we looking?
On the screen, you just to the picture. There's like a purple suitcase looking thing.
There's a status. Call the police. That is super fucking cool. All right, so then let's start with Baku. Would you like to do something? Spotlight's on you right now, or do you want to pass to someone else?
I actually think that Baku would scoop up the Molly's body, and pass the spotlight to Locke, because he knows that this is like his smooth, like it's for him to get her to calm down and not call the police.
Yeah.
Maybe all he does is he looks at Locke and he says, "No police," and picks up the Molly's body.
Sure.
Okay.
So
I'm gonna try to sweet talk her and use our old friendship, as a relentless schmoozer.
Yeah.
Time fixer, because we probably maybe done some not so
what
on the level things.
I totally buy the way that we've sort of been describing things here. Give me a sec.
So I try to convince her. I don't know if I don't know how that my charming gaze, electrifying gaze, can help with that too.
I buy longtime friend as a status. That's applicable here too.
Sure.
So that long-term. So you've got. Let's see here. Relentless schmoozer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And what are you saying? Like, I think that will also have an effect on it.
I'm like, hey, Erica, this is like a sensitive matter. Baku knows this woman, and we have a chance to help her like we help the kids. Just as a favor to me, I wink. We're always good. We're good friends. We've had a lot of good times and whiskey together. I do the thing with the eyebrows.
Yeah.
Probably like an electric static kind of goes across them.
And I think that you could also trigger your good deep down inside.
Yeah.
Because if she knows you, right, as the way you've described her, so that's two. I count 2 tags on yours, and then also +1 from longtime friend.
Okay, so I'm doing.
And then
good deep down inside.
I think convince is what you're doing, right?
Yeah. So not fixer, but schmoozer and good deep down inside, and then a +1 for the.
Yeah, +1 from the longtime friend.
Okay. Yeah, and then convince. Okay. Come on, Erica. We're good for it.
Mm-hmm.
We save the kids.
Okay. So here's what she says. Okay, that's interesting. So choose a relevant status with tier equal power 3, and that would overpower the call the police.
Oh.
But she can choose to either take the status or give in a little but protect her own agenda. So I think her eyes kind of narrow, and she looks over as Baku is sort of cradling up the kid's body. And what she says, till morning.
That's all we ask.
I won't say until morning.
We owe you.
Don't owe me. Just take care of this by morning.
Yep.
Okay. So then, with the either Baku or Lily could take the spotlight now. What are you guys thinking?
I think.
So I guess let's just talk about one thing. One of the things that City of Mist is a mystery game. The whole game is about and the campaigns that they have in it are structured around solving mysteries. So we've all talked about this before, but like a mystery solving game has a different tempo to it than what, say, a dungeon crawl or something like that would. So moving into a stage like this, the initiative is on you to kind of go out there, find your clues, and then start piecing together what the hell's going on. Oh, you're muted, Jeff.
Oh, whoops, I'm still muted. Yeah, you're meaning also we should go through some scenes. I think the first scene is Baku says we've got to get Molly somewhere safe, and he's gonna take her to the dojo.
Love it. Okay.
Lily's like, is she dead?
How are you guys gonna get to the dojo? Are you walking?
In the darkness, I guess. Yeah. Try to.
Okay.
Is she dead, Baku?
She is right now, but hopefully we can save her.
Okay.
Baron, I use the name. I say, can I use the name of the Baron Samedi?
Yeah, you can say.
Yeah, so Baron Samedi, he is the god of the dead after all. He likely can do what
Okay.
they likely can do what they say they can.
Now here's what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you there is another status in the thing. I'll put 2 statuses down here because there are 2 things that are kind of going on.
So for some reason, we can't see the tags that you type.
Oh, you know
we can
why?
just see the little things.
It's probably because
You have to like.
I need to put down so that you can see it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's just the nature of the thing.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, now I can see.
Yeah. Okay, so let me put these 2. I got two statuses
So,
that I think
yeah,
are.
Lily and Talak are both mind controlled.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey.
So we got one that's falling rain. And the other one is started at 1. Cops are out. Now what you can see, and this is not the way things were before. Before you get these kids, this is not the case. As you're making your way here, there is the sound of when you step outside, it's sort of, you immediately see sirens going whom, whum, whum, and vroom, through the rain-filled streets. One of them goes by. Something's going on, or something has happened. So let's first get you to the dojo. The building you see in the picture here, I'm picturing this is where your dojo is, Baku.
Yeah. And I imagine that all he has for a sign is he's got like a banner, a pretty cheaply printed banner that he kind of hangs up across the front of the building there.
So I think to get yourself here, this sounds like you're sneaking.
Yeah, I think this is a sneak around.
Okay.
Okay.
So what are you thinking? Baku, I'll let you. You're pretty freaking awesome at this stuff.
Yeah. So I mean, I have meld into the dark. So, I'm almost invisible as long as we're sort of staying in the shadows.
Yep.
And instinctive dodge, I think, would come into play here as far as avoiding the police cars. Mm-hmm. Yeah, let's see what else.
Are you asking all of us, or
just for Baku?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see if I have anything else that helps here.
You are going to get +2. The status from falling rain will apply, but also the cops are out will apply as a penalty. So you're going to get a net +1.
Yeah, I think that's really the only ones that apply to this situation.
Okay.
So net +1.
Yep.
There we go. And sneak around.
Ooh. All right. Someone unimportant. So here's what I'm going to do is you can picture that you're sneaking through all of the through the streets here. If you want to give us a description of what we see, you can go right ahead.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of moving through the sort of alleys and the back lanes of the neighborhood, staying in the dark, peeking around the corners. Like you said, maybe a cop car or 2 goes by and we're sort of, Baku's trying to, signal to everyone when it's safe to go.
Yep.
While carrying Molly's body.
Sure.
Actually, you know what? Maybe I don't know if this is okay with Lily. Maybe he's given the girl's body to Hans to carry. So that he can, I had that thought. That he can signal, stay back, come, hand signals to the others to sort of. I mean, it's obviously easy for Talak to move through the city unseen, but not Lily and Baku.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I thought I can make the storm even heavier, but I don't know if that would be more of a
So what you could do, actually, that's a good question. So that would be, I think, that would be changing the game. So, let's say you wanted to make it, easier, but let's sit on this one for a second because I'm going to show you what happens, and maybe you're going to want to do this before you guys decide to go and investigate or go somewhere else. You could say change the game, and if you can create a power status of 3, you could increase that falling rain effect to a 3 instead of the 2. Okay. But what happens is we sort of see, like, Baku, you're right about to get to your dojo. You're like, go, 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 go. And Lillian and Hans and Tlaloc make their way over. They open the door, and then you're the last one to follow in. And sort of as the door is closing, boom, we see a patrol car go by, and sort of it's that flashlight, like checking the alleyway kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And we don't know whether they saw anything or not. But cops are out goes to 2 now.
Nice.
So, why don't you tell us what the inside of your dojo looks like? What's the thing they walk into?
I think the building itself is quite run down, and the bit of equipment that I do have, is old and worn out a little bit. But you can see that there's a lot of care and a lot of effort done by Baku. Like, he's got charts that he's sort of like, sheets of paper where he's handwritten and done some sketches of like moves and training and like, routine 1, and it's, different moves to do. And he's got like pictures of the kids, and he's got, you can see that there's a lot of time and effort going into keeping the dojo a friendly place for everybody.
Where do you think Hans is going to put Molly's body?
Maybe in the room. I know we talked a little bit before the game that maybe there's a room that Lily is staying in at the dojo. Maybe Baku, I mean, he's so poor, he maybe lives here too. So maybe there's like sort of the back half is like an office and like a few little rooms, and they've got.
I could be on the couch, like you've got a place in the back, and I sleep on the couch or something.
Totally.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so Hans carefully puts this girl down, and you can tell Lily she's got to be about the same size as you because she fits up the same amount of space on there. And as you're watching this, I think, Baku, you're seeing them go back, and your eyes go over to the lockers, those battered old lockers that you've got that have masking tape across the thing that people have put their names on it, and you can see Molly's name on one of the lockers. Now, what do you guys wish to do?
That guy gave us. Think of a plan, right? That guy gave us a name. Baron Samedi gave us a name. We need to recover his body in order to get your student back.
What was the name again?
It was Gravekeeper. Gravekeeper, yeah.
Yeah, we've got to find the Gravekeeper by sunrise.
What are we supposed to do? We're trying to find Gravekeeper. So, is Gravekeeper dead too?
I don't know. Maybe he's the one who knows where the Baron's body is.
Right.
So
or has the Baron's body.
Oh, we're seeing the Gravekeeper about the Baron's body.
Either of you heard that name before?
I don't think so.
I haven't heard of any.
But I could ask
before.
Around.
Hey, Hans, you ever heard of these guys? And maybe she's going to now. One of Hans's big brother is Good Advice.
Okay.
So I think she looks up and goes, Hans, oh my God, Hans. And she's looking around and, like doing her usual impatient impetuousness. And Hans, focus. And says, have you heard of these guys before?
So that to me sounds like you are going to be investigating.
Yes.
So let's talk about the ways that Hans might do this. And right now, Good Advice is definitely, I think, one that might be there. But this is where the game kind of comes down to, like, the way you choose to describe things and the way that you choose to approach things is sort of there is an extra incentive to trying to add some flourish to that.
Yeah.
So, like, say, I definitely buy that, but then say, like, what he does is, Hans opens his palm and a small, like, pestle or mortar filled with sand and incense in it appears. And he begins invoking some kind of ritual to try and find information. right? Then that might open you up to knowledge of the arcane arts because he's using a divining spell too.
Right. And I was even going to say that maybe, she suggested, says, Hans, that guy's magical, huh? You know him. You know him, right?
Okay.
Give me a break. You know that guy. And then he starts up this kind of, this, and there's maybe a little low chant that comes across as like a drum beat.
Sure.
But that's actually his voice.
Okay. So then go ahead and take, tag those or tick those two things. There's no penalties here or no negative statuses. So then it's just a matter of clicking on investigate.
All right.
Let's see what happens.
Let me see. Hang on a second.
How long do you think that will take?
It just, like the game is structured to be a cinematic thing. So it's more like the screen time right now is focused on Lily. We can then turn to someone else, and that might be a flashback. That might be something that's happening simultaneously.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I want to think Talak maybe saying that, and Lily saying patience. ironically saying patience, Talak, patience.
Arms on hips. Come on.
On my punk outfit hips.
Yeah. So
I haven't been able to work in my punk outfit yet into a.
No.
I'll try to get there at some point.
So
Okay.
Go ahead and click on the investigate.
Investigate.
Okay. So you gain 2 clues. And let's see here. Or ask another player relevant question about the character. Interesting. They must either give you a solid answer, a straight answer, or a solid lead, and they can also choose one. Okay. Investigation exposes you to danger. Clues are fuzzy, incomplete, or part true, or whoever or whatever you're asking the question. So you have 2 questions you can ask, but they are subject to those restrictions. So what do you think, Sean? This is where we sort of we metagame this, and then we can narrate how this is communicated to you through the fiction. What's your first question?
And before we get to this question, before it leaves my mind, that one possibility is that third one on the second part of this, where maybe Hans asks me a question that makes me uncomfortable. Like he doesn't ask
Hans, for the purpose of this, is you.
Okay.
So it's not, you're either asking me or you're asking one of the other players. So.
Gotcha.
Yeah. I don't want to step on the storytelling. So that's something definitely cool that you can think of as something that is happening between the two, between Hans and Lily. And it's a great example of how you can be really, the rules are flexible enough that you can have unusual characters like Lily in here, where you're sort of role-playing with yourself, as it were.
Right.
Right? But what is your first question? You can choose to bank that. You can ask me questions now, or you can choose to save them and then ask them later on. But because this is sort of getting things going.
So I think...
and you don't need to just, and not saying you're going to do this, Sean, but like you guys do not need to beat yourself up over the questions. We don't need to agonize over the stuff. It's a mystery-solving game.
Yeah.
You're going to be keeping to try and get more clues, right? So what's your first question?
Well, so Hans is like, he's doing his thing, and he's smiling wryly in a knowing way at Lily, and Lily's like, "Oh, smarty pants," and looks at her 2 buddies and her 2 colleagues and says, "What do you think?" He's acting like he knows something. What are we trying to figure out here? Looking at between Baku and Talalik.
So again, ask your question.
My question.
You guys are all going to have an opportunity to do this stuff. Don't worry about, the questions should be flowing fast and free here.
Gotcha.
So what's your first question?
Where is Salmodi's body? Where's this guy's body? Where's this thing? Whatever we're supposed to find.
So I don't think you've established what I can tell you though is that if you haven't established the grounds to get yourself there, I could just flat out say it's not a valid question. And that's not you've got nothing that has been established about this stuff. And remember that Samedi is separate from the Rift. Samedi is the mythos part of the rift, but there is a man or a woman whose body is out there. And if the way you phrase it is where Samedi's body, then they may not have... mythos can manifest through multiple rifts at the same time.
Maybe she asks, where's this body that we're supposed to find? Like more general. Because he asked to find a body, right?
He asked to find a body. Taken. What's your next question? So it may not seem that that was an answer, but there is information in that answer. What's your next question?
Where can we find the Gravekeeper?
Where you would find graves.
Hans is being silly. You guys see what he says. He says graveyard. Duh, Hans. And she like puts her hands.
There's a graveyard in this neighborhood.
Yeah, I'm sure there is a graveyard. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
So that was Lily's questions, or at least what Hans knew immediately.
Do you want to do one of those, that second part where you choose one or I choose one or something? Does that come in now, or
What's that?
I think you did that.
I made the decisions for.
Oh,
them.
okay. So
yeah,
it's
because
secret.
you're asking
Got it.
them of me, I get to make the decision.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
So then, Baku or Tlaloc, would you like to take the spotlight?
Well,
Sure. I'm not very good at investigation, but I think that like you said, we walked by the lockers and one of them had Molly's name on it, and I think as we're walking back past the lockers to excuse me, to return, after putting the body down, I think that I look at the lockers and I see another student's locker right beside Molly's, and they're friends, and I sort of clue in like, well, we could go talk to Amy and see if she knew what Molly was up to. Like, maybe was Molly involved in this, or where
Yeah.
were they tonight? Like,
Yeah.
so
that's for sure loyal students.
yeah.
What else do you
Now,
think?
yeah, this is where, like, unfortunately, the character is not the greatest, because this isn't really a prey, or it's not really a night a mist related thing at all. So
Here's where the phrasing of your tags really does come into play, though. Mixed
Right.
martial arts sensei.
oh right, okay, that's right. So I am her teacher. So
I'd buy
maybe
that.
there's more chance that she'll answer
Yeah,
questions from me.
I'd buy that.
Totally. But then again, like I said, as far as the mythos ones go, I don't think I would. Well, hold on.
Well, this is where the source, like, you're doing a good example of like working the fiction to find a source that might give more. Like, Sean, you're getting some pretty oblique answers, but that's because you're going through a pretty oblique source. Whereas,
Like, I also have. Yeah, sorry, continue.
no, whereas, like, if you're going to a specific person, like this student, right, as an example, that student I may be able to feed more specific information in response to questions.
So I also have something called predator senses.
Yeah.
And so I kind of think of that as like heightened senses. And so I think that I use those heightened senses. They help me read people. So like, as far as like, is Amy lying to me? Is she nervous about something? That kind of thing, as far as like
Yep.
getting a good read on her.
Sure. So why don't you borrow Lily's phone and make the call?
Yeah, let's do it.
So what does Lily's phone look like, Sean?
It's got a lot of pink on it, and pastels and
Spikes.
yeah. There's probably some kind of goth on the corners, and she's drawn in. She's hand drawn in kind of a representation of Hans on the back too.
Okay.
Beautiful.
And she tosses it to Baku kind of unthinkingly, like, it's fine.
Great success. All right. So you toss it over. You enter in Amy's phone, and you can hear someone answer the phone, and you can tell immediately that they're in tears and sobbing immediately.
Oh, wow.
What do you think they call you, Sensei?
I think so.
Okay. There, you can hear Amy weeping on the other end of the phone, and she just is repeating over and over again, Molly's dead! Molly's dead!
Amy, what happened?
So first question.
Yeah.
They went to a party at the cemetery.
Oh.
There was a party at the cemetery. They got invitations. There was some kind of, something like Dia de los Muertos. I'm sorry if I'm butchering my Spanish here, but the Day of the Dead kind of celebration.
Right.
At the cell, there was going to be music. There was going to be booze.
Who shot her?
There were some men. They showed up in a hearse. There was 3 of them. They just started shooting everyone.
Oh my God. That would explain why the police are out everywhere.
We ran, but Molly got hit. The 3 men, they seemed to be interested in... They were shooting at the gravedigger.
The grave what?
Gravedigger, you said.
They were chasing him and shooting everyone in the way. The gravedigger ran through us. That's when Molly got hit. And he got shot too.
Could you describe what he looks like?
Young guy. I don't know. Old. Not like you old. But older. He was nice. He was the one hosting. He died too. We ran off then. We didn't want to get shot too, but Molly was right underneath him.
Well, thank you, Amy. We'll do what we can. Try to stay calm.
She's dead, Sensei.
Well, I think he doesn't. This is like a part where he's,
Sure.
he's sort of lost this connection to the real world a little bit, right? And so,
Yeah. Does it? Can I suggest something?
Sure.
If I may? Maybe he just brings the phone away and you can hear her sobbing, so you can kind of hear it like tinny and away the way
Yeah.
that a phone that's not on speaker, and he just sort of looks over at Lily like, what do I do?
Yeah, what do I say? Like he doesn't know how to comfort them. He knows how to train them in martial arts and try to be there for them.
Yeah.
But like comforting a teenage girl is like way out of his wheelhouse of like, what to do.
So either
tell
Lily,
her how great she is, and to come over anytime. There's hugs here anytime.
Tyler shakes his head.
Say everything will be all right. We're working on it.
And she rolls her eyes at this like full adult, you
Yeah.
know. Don't hit her with adult, says Lily.
Everything will be all right.
I think he just picks the phone back up and he just says, everything will be all right. I'll see you tomorrow. And he closes the phone.
Yeah.
And Lily's giving it one of these. Like, that was very so-so.
Yeah.
Okay.
We can work on it. We can work on
With
it.
that information, Salak has an idea. He's going to go talk to his underworld contacts
Yeah.
and find out who did this hit.
Okay.
or try to find out. So, small time fixer, I hope
Yep.
for sure. Schmoozer, and then I don't know, since it's like oppressing, maybe some intimidation with that electrifying gaze.
Yep. So one of the things I'll mention, guys, remember you can choose to burn a tag, and that means it's not available until you recover it in a downtime thing. But what it does is it gives you an automatic power 3, and as if you rolled a 7, so you're guaranteed to get a result of a 10 plus.
Yeah, we have to do that before we make a roll.
Before you make the roll, yeah, you got to choose to burn it instead of making the roll. So your choice. You do that, or you want to risk the roll.
Let's see.
You got a power 3 you're rolling with anyway.
Yeah.
It's a good thing to do if you only have one power that helps you in a situation, and you really
But I
need a
have, yeah, I have
success.
I feel like multiple ones if Kevin allows it. So are those reasonable? Electrifying gaze.
Yep. Because
Schmoozer,
it
and
lends out like a
small-time
little
fixer.
bit of like extra threat, right? Like when you're meeting with these guys, that there's lightning that plays across your eyes.
Yeah,
Sure.
Just because it's serious, and then my approach is like, man, who's going to hit a party of kids? That's ridiculous. You got to tell me who did this. This is not the way we. This is not the way we do things here in,
And sod.
in the sod. All right,
So click off
Give
those
me
things and go
investigate-
ahead and click on.
investigate.
Now, I don't want to do this
Investigate.
to us, but I just want to point out: is the fact that the cops are out affecting this?
It will if he rolls a complication.
Okay.
Potentially because of the way. But that's a great question, because and it's sort of the way that like you interpret based on sort of what's happening in the fiction, and the fact that he's going around. If he rolls like either a total fail or a mixed success, there may be a like, hey, you come over here, moment, right?
Yeah, and then I can try to get out of something like that.
Absolutely, that's when you could avoid the danger. Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Well, let's try to do this.
Sure.
He's gonna go outside, jump from puddle to puddle, and find some of these.
He's
It's probably
hitting,
gonna just to give you inspiration. It's gonna be some of the tougher type, like the people who do the, who run the gambling, and maybe some of the more nefarious, the drug stuff, because they might know more.
Oh yeah, the folks who be out at these parties or like supplying the stuff to them, for sure. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, they might be upset too, because Let's see what happens. Oh, nice.
Nice. All right, so you got 3 questions you can ask me.
3.
Yeah.
All right. Well, the first question is, who did this? Do you all know who ordered this hit?
They don't know. Well, here's what I can. So those are 2 different questions. Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Who did this?
Yeah, who did this?
There are. What you hear is that, and let's say this is from like a someone, a party in the graveyard, party in the neighborhood is going to be something that people will want to show up to. And this is, a low level, like, drug slinger, is someone who's peddling on the, like a dealer who's a street dealer. What he said, it was 3 hitters. Someone showed up in a hearse in the middle of the night. 3 guys got out. Hairiest motherfuckers they've ever seen. And they looked like they could be brothers. All 3 of them had machine guns with them and started emptying out in the direction of the gravedigger. Or the groundskeeper, I suppose.
Groundskeeper, yeah. All right.
They didn't recognize him. Definitely not from the neighborhood. 2 more questions.
Man. Which direction did they flee? The attackers. Which direction did the attackers flee?
They left the way they came. In the hearse. With the body.
Can I ask my buddies? I can't ask my buddies suggestions, huh? Oh, well, I don't know. I was thinking of either asking to see if they got the license plate, but that probably could be a no. Or where do people keep hearses in this? I mean, maybe I'll ask that. Man, yeah, I guess that's a tough one. Hairy men.
You can ask
Drove
if
off in a
the
hearse.
license plate they didn't have. That's a completely valid question.
Yeah, where did you get the license plate on that hearse, or one of them,
Did.
or did your brother, or did
Custom plate. CRB 5.
5 is a custom. Okay. Well, who likes to talk to police? Do they can help us here? I come back. I'm always wet, so maybe I've been sweating, but you can't tell because I'm always wet.
So let's do this. Now that you've got some foundational questions and some foundational information, let's circle back and let's pretend that you waited until you had some initial information before you asked Iron Hans.
Okay.
So you have 2 questions to ask Iron Hans now. I think you've got some more foundational information here.
Hey Hans, you I don't know if this is too mundane for you, but do you any idea what that license plate belongs to? Like a company, or think it's some guy?
The let's see, how do you think Hans communicates? Does he talk? Does he communicate through like expressions or whatnot? What is Hans like personality wise? What do you think?
I think he's probably silent to everyone else. I think he comes through in a deep, rumbly voice in Lily's head.
Okay.
that is only friendly sounding to her.
Yeah.
It is the voice, could be the voice of doom to a mundane civilian, but to her,
Yep.
It's like, her favorite voice in the world.
So what he does is he looks at you, he looks down, and there's sort of a blinding flash that comes from his eyes. And you sort of blink, and still dressed like you are, you see yourself standing in a mist-filled and blasted gray landscape. Bits of like broken concrete or gravel maybe are underneath your feet. And you can hear from in the thickness of the mists the sounds of hundreds of voices, anguished, lamenting, lost. And looking around, you can see, and maybe your eyes are playing tricks on you, it seems like almost, when you take a photograph of someone and then you hold the negatives up and there's that weird reversed impression of them? That's the faces you're seeing move through the edge of your vision. And your eyes go up, and you can see there is a large, maybe hill or mountain, bleached white. And as you focus your attention on it, you can see the tiny bits that make up that mountain are skulls. And atop that mountain, somehow you're able to see, in the way you can see impossible things in dreams, there is a somber and strong figure sitting on a throne. And not like a Game of Thrones style throne. It is a simple chair. 2 crossed legs that kind of go across, providing a step. And this gray and somber man stares down. And there's a smell that hits your... And you know what it is?
Rum?
No, it's souvlaki. Baku got your takeaway not long ago from a Greek place down the road. There's the smell of souvlaki, spiced chicken, cooked lamb, garlic potatoes, and you're back. One question. You have one more left.
Let's see. I hope I'm not
you can
forgetting,
ask.
but
I'll let you guys talk back and forth now if you'd like to think of what you want to ask Hans.
Yeah. Jeff
do you
has some
think-
interesting questions.
do you think we already know who's at the top of that mountain? I mean, the low-hanging fruit is to ask who that is. Did I miss something?
I feel like that's the grave digger guy, not the grave digger. The grave keeper.
The gravekeeper is the victim, isn't he?
No, I feel like that's Baron Samedi.
Gravedigger is the victim, and what the question was who owns the license plate? I think.
Yeah,
Who owns the license plate, and that's the answer that she was shown.
I see.
Was that
Yeah.
Greek character, which is not the same Haitian, but he also seems like another god of the dead. So maybe
Yeah, so like these gods of the dead are vying for
fighting each
power,
other.
right? Yeah.
Absolutely. So I think that we can establish some of those questions that's one of the.
Yep.
Where
I feel the
is-
grave
was
digger
just-
who's having the party might have been the rift of Baron Samedi stepping on someone's toes. He came out, opened fire, and then they took him. That's maybe the body we're looking for. That's my hypothesis.
maybe the
Yeah,
body, right?
exactly. That's sort of what.
That's my hypothesis, that the gravedigger may be moving into the territory of. The gravedigger, or the caretaker of the guy who sponsored the party that your student said, that Baku's student said, is the rift of Baron Samedi, and his body. He was shot up. His body was taken by the gravekeeper, who is possibly a rift of the Greek god of the dead. So we got to find a good souvlaki joint.
So we're thinking there's
has
both a
a-
grave digger and a gravekeeper involved.
What?
The grave
No.
digger is just his profession,
I see.
right? Or he's just, I think.
I think it's all the same name.
Should I ask why this happened? Why did I could ask what is the name of the guy at the top of the mountain? I could ask, why did he do this? Why did he shoot and take that body? I could ask if he has a weakness.
So one thing that you guys would know is that the age of the mythos often relates to its power and its influence. Things that are forgotten, like, Ishtar is not a goddess's name that flows off of everyone's tongue, but a god like, if you have a god that is
Unless you
featured in
watch
a
that movie.
Disney film, right? Then that god's going to have a lot of power in the public consciousness and sort of the collective unconsciousness. So those ancient ones may have more power than more modern ones, like, say, those that were introduced by Voodoo. And Baron Samedi is technically derived from some of the trickster spirits from West African myth, but Baron Samedi is a distinct mythos or distinct myth from those older myths as well.
Right. So he would be a slightly lesser figure than like Hades or like a more powerful. Right. And so it's not necessarily that they would be vying for power because they're sort of on a different level, but he might have crossed him in some way.
The three questions I have: what do you think? Or another one: who's the guy at the top of the mountain? Why was the gravedigger killed and his body taken? Or does the guy at the top of the mountain have a weakness? Those are the three I can think of at the moment. Which would you, or another one that you guys think of?
No, any of those are good. I like any of those.
I'm partial to not the one in the middle, because I think we kind of have an idea already.
Okay.
Well, I mean, we can
like
get
why he
these
was
things
killed.
confirmed. I mean, assumptions are assumptions, right? So.
So here's one tidbit as well, too. This is just a bit of lore. I am still a big fan of the sandbox approach to games, in the sense that what is good for the goose is good for the gander. So the fact that the cops are out may cut both ways.
Absolutely. I mean, that's something that Baku was thinking, is maybe we can leak this license plate to them and get them to find these guys, and
lead them,
in the chaos we could, and during the chaos we could swoop in and get the body back. Like, not necessarily have to fight the three gunmen, but have the police do the work for us.
I'll ask. Does the guy at the top of the mountain have a weakness? Come on, Han. You know this stuff. Don't get cute with me.
So what? He looks down at you again, and there's a flash of green, and you once again are standing in that same desolate domain. But you blink, and there's a chain link fence between you and it. And looking to the side, you can see the chain link fence extends down and then around, surrounding this man sitting on a throne. And you are outside of the fence. If you look down, if you look down, you can see there is green and luxurious grass at your feet. It seems to end where the chain link fence begins. And that runs the entirety of the exterior. You do hear barking as well, too. And what comes charging up are three vicious-looking Dobermans against the fence, so close together and so falling over each other, it almost looks like it's one dog with three heads. But that couldn't be possible, could it?
And they're on the inside, you said.
Inside of the fence. But then they break through. And you guys see Lily stagger back and fall down, trips over a sneaker that she left on the floor. And you are back in this world, Lily.
And Lily mutters, when can Hans just tell me answers? And
you think, Baku, is it possible that Hans is smirking?
Probably. Lily describes the scene and says, well, I suppose it seems like he needs protection, like he doesn't want people close to him, maybe? And
he's trapped inside of there?
Yeah, oh, maybe. Could be. I was thinking he's trying to keep people away from him, so maybe he's susceptible to getting punched. Don't know.
I don't know.
Hans likes his
I like the
puzzles.
idea of getting the police involved. I mean, I'm thinking of that I could try to flag down the cops and tell them we know something. We heard something on the street. I'm always trying to be good, help the law, maybe make this place better.
Really rolled your eyes.
I'm also driven by self-promotion.
We need to be there on the scene when the cops find these guys. So we need to arrange that in some way, though, Talak. Like, we don't want to have them just arrest these guys and we're not around, because if we don't get that body back, we won't be able to save Molly. So you need to carefully negotiate with them, or we need to have a method to. Do you have a scanner or access to a police scanner so we can stay on top of where they are and be on the scene when they find them?
That sounds like a good idea, Baku. Okay, so Talak, sounds like you were going to you're going to chat up the cops?
Yeah, just gonna try to do that. Use that to our advantage.
Okay.
And then just get ready to follow them.
So here's what we're going to do, guys, is if, like I mentioned, you can't use the same move back to back, so we can't use investigate again, but it sounds like what you're trying to do is change the game here, Tlaloc, and create some kind of status that's going to affect them. I mentioned before we started, like, the statuses can be, like, they're very, very flexible. It's not just, like, physically affecting them or, whatever. You could be imposing a, like, say, wanted by the cops status on them. Mm-hmm. And remember, if you get enough of a status on them that it exceeds their, like, whatever their rating is, they're defeated. So
right.
What are you thinking?
Yeah, the alternative I have is if we're looking for a place that serves Greek food,
Right.
That has hairy guys that I can try to jump between bodies of water throughout the city that's raining. There's bound to be puddles. Try to do
That's
look around everywhere.
That's still an investigate, and you can't do the same thing back to back. No.
Okay.
At this point, you got to transition to something different. Try something different, and then you can go back.
Either change the game or convince the cops to help us. I don't know.
I mean, there's a Greek restaurant we ordered from the other night, and it's in the hood.
Think that's a place?
I think we should check it out at least. It may be what do you guys call it? Like a fish? Red herring. That's what I mean. Could be a red herring, but I don't know. We just ordered from there. It's in the hood. Seems like it's worth checking out. What do you think, Baku? You're the one that likes that Greek place the most.
Let's go check that place out, and then if that's the place, then we try to change, make it so the cops cause a distraction by going there.
Okay.
Baku says, I'm fast and I can fight, but I can't fight 3 machine guns. I think we will need the police involved.
12.
Let's scope out this.
You hear, I think, Iron Hans kind of clears his throat.
Well, he says, yeah, Hans is good for a machine gun. And,
He's good at protecting you.
He is.
That's for sure.
So one of the things, just so you guys can contextualize the rules as well, if I can have certain dangers be individual things, right, like that are just separate things like you found with the Piper, but they can be groups as well too, in which case they have a certain rating, but then it is increased to reflect the advantage of numbers and so forth, but it still is only one thing. So
yeah, so you could try to use your powers to
precisely.
dodge,
so like the way I would probably model, unless they are 3 individual things, the way I'd probably model something like that might be just a whatever the power level is, and then it'll be reflected up 1 or 2 depending on how many things there are. Usually for a group of 3, it would be 1.
Right.
So you can narratively like protect you. Like if say you were trying to dodge your way out of machine gun fire or something like that, you'd mechanically still be working against one status that I might impose.
Right. I got it. Yeah.
Yeah, just so you guys can make the decision. The game sort of dances back and forth between sort of simulationist things and sort of like narrativist stuff, but it really, depending on how we choose to frame it, is what dictates. I could build these things as 3 separate threats too, but it might be simpler to have them all as one.
No, and to be clear, like Jeff, the player, is not afraid of going against the 3 machine gun guys. I'm just through the eyes of Baku saying like what he thinks is a good idea, which
Absolutely.
he liked getting the cops involved.
Well, we're
This
losing.
is why he was
nightlife,
trying to steer that.
So let's get moving.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's check this Greek place out. Follow Lily's nose, or her. That Hans thing nose.
Lily's stomach's grumbling. She says, at the very worst, we can pick up some Greek.
So, like, what's the goal here? Like sneak around? Like, I'm not sure what we're gonna try and do there.
I think we're checking out if that's the
place. Look
Yeah.
where
We've
the.
all, as Kevin said, we all did investigate though, so like we can't really investigate the place until we try other things.
Yeah, what, like, there is a Greek restaurant in here. Going there is probably not going to get you anything. The fact that I described the smell of it as that is because I can't think of another way you would necessarily know what souvlaki smells like. So that was really just more a narrative flourish on my part of giving you context for why you would recognize that smell.
Okay.
Through the information that Hans was providing you. So if
Right.
you guys,
it's more that it's like a hint he's a Greek god than it is
Yeah. Okay.
that he's a restaurant
Well, then
owner.
we should go with the change the game to get the police after them. We have these clues. The police have the means to do it.
okay.
Sounds good.
So
I mean, if we get caught behind, then maybe they can't take all the bodies, and we can get them. We can swoop in there and get them.
Right, because then our mission becomes body extraction, not necessarily,
Yeah.
I mean, we'll see how it plays out. I mean, we don't know how powerful these mythos are. They may be able to take down multiple cops, and it's just
yeah, and mythos are definitely more powerful than the average person as well too. So
absolutely.
let's see here. Feeding the information to the cops. So it's going to be a bit tricky because they are out, and you are a criminal, Slylock. So I think the cops are out is going to apply as a negative status. But what are you thinking as your positive things here?
A driven self-promoter, good deep down inside.
Yep. And relentless schmoozer?
Yeah, if it comes to that, I'm not going to try to intimidate the cops. They'll probably just take me in if I try to. But yeah.
You know what? I think I'd let you use small-time fixer as well too,
Oh yeah.
because
Okay.
you're a wheeler and dealer, right?
Yes.
So I think that you may be known to the cops as a guy who sort of knows finger in every criminal pie kind of thing.
Yep. Okay.
Okay.
So 2 minus. Is it 2 minus?
To 2 minus, yeah, from the cops are out.
Okay.
And this is only running the risk of when they're already running hot with a,
Yeah. Okay.
here we go.
Let's go. Let's see what happens. Would I hit the roll?
Hit to roll is
yeah.
change the game.
Change the game. Yeah. Change the game. Got it.
Nice. Awesome.
That's
So-
crazy. That's with a +1 too.
Yep. Okay, so you power 2, and I think you should have had a power 2 on that, not power 1, because you had 2 penalties and you had 4 tags, didn't you?
Oh well, I put 3. I tagged 3 things, but then I added a minus. I think it just adds that 1.
Okay, so you got because you had deep down inside, relentless schmoozer, small time fixer, and driven self promoter.
Yeah, I tagged all those, and then when I put the -2 there, it I guess it just
Maybe it
takes the
caps
net.
out.
It takes the net.
I thought there was a thing in there somewhere in the rules that said that you could only have a max of 3 tags in any roll. But I can see on the character sheet it says I couldn't find that where I read that before, and I can see some of the examples in the tag combos are 4 power.
Yeah, see, I had that same impression, Kev, that you can
Yeah,
only
like
use
the
3.
pickpocket.
Yeah. So
Well, I tagged those 3 things, and then it was 3, and then when I put the minus there, it got knocked down to 1. So it's a net of +1.
yeah, so maybe there is a max of 3, and I can't remember where I read that.
Yeah. Okay.
So in any event, that is excellent. Now, what are you thinking of doing here? What you get 1 juice out of this because of the power level. Mm-hmm. Minimum 2. You get 2 juice out of it.
Okay.
So what are you thinking? You can create a story tag, like it could be, what would it be? APB, maybe. For the.
Yeah, I mean,
like if you want to be clever, like APB means I find you.
Okay.
Because now the way we describe the statuses also is just like your power tags. It gives you the means of taking advantage of those statuses. So, like, if we phrase it the way that I did, and I don't want you to necessarily accept the way that I phrase it, you can do however you like, but if it's APB means I find you, means there might be a way of the cops kind of imposing on them too, but you also may be able to draw on that as a bonus to your role.
Okay. Yeah, that could help us when we're sneaking around to try to track what the cops are finding.
And, like, if
So
you're
probably... I mean, I guess maybe for me the effect would be if I don't go directly to the cops and I go to a guy who's a known snitch and I have information on that shooting at the graveyard and give them the information. Mm-hmm. Right. The hearses and then the license plate.
Yeah. So, let's see here. So now that you've done that Tlaloc, I think you can make another...
I'm fine with your APB is calling it that.
Okay. So let me... So what is it you want? I love the idea of going to a snitch and feeding it that way too, so that you're... Because what this result tells us is that you didn't get any trouble. Actually, let's do this. Here we go. And your power was a 2, right?
Yeah.
Okay. There we go.
So just for clarity, the rule book says no tag cap. You can invoke any number of relevant tags from all of your character's themes, the crew themes, or available story tags. But then there's a little cross and it says does not apply in some moves or when using optional rules. So maybe the 3 is an optional rule, or maybe change the game, you're only allowed 3.
Like I'll have to go back through the books. I couldn't find that rule because that's what I had in my head as well. And if you had in yours, it's got to be somewhere.
We must have read it somewhere.
Yeah, it must be an
sure.
optional rule we read somewhere that we just were using. So anyway, so then, guys, with that, what Lily or Baku, would you like to take the
take the
spotlight?
Give the spotlight to somebody else.
Sure.
So, I risk myself to put myself in danger, but then when I give this information, I go, okay, the wheels are in motion. See, it's up to you guys now. I'm gonna lay low for a little bit.
Yeah. So what are you guys thinking? Now, technically, this is not what APB means. I find you is. It's not actually a story tag. It is a status that's been applied to your enemy.
Right.
So they're not defeated yet, but it's something you could be using on them. What are you thinking, guys?
Baku, you wanted to try to follow the cops to them, right?
Yeah, that was one thought.
So that we could get to the body before the cops.
So one thing I'll tell you as well, too, I'll maybe repeat this when Carl gets back, but so Sean, one of the cool things about the game is that the way of defeating the dangers is different in every case. So, like in this case, there may be there may be a status that they have, and it's probably the case because they're hidden. There may be a status they've got, or a rating that relates to their being hidden, and they're not defeated once it is beaten. What they are is exposed.
Right.
Yeah.
So we could try to lower or raise whatever's hiding. I guess we would be lowering it.
So APB means I find you is an effect that is affecting their being hidden somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
So we could try to draw them out in some way.
Mm-hmm. Like from the descriptions that you've heard from these folks, do they strike you as inconspicuous or not?
No, not at all. What can we do to draw them out?
So I guess another thing to think of is using your... I'm telling them. Anna says hi to everybody. Hi, sweetie. You could, for instance, try and impose a status Baku with your abilities of like got your trail or something like that.
Right, like that's what I was thinking. I was just sort of getting to is like that's one of my things is like is sniffing out their mythos. And so if these three gunmen are all what do we call them? Riffs? Or myths?
Yep.
Yeah. If they're all myths and so is their leader and so is the body of the gravedigger, like there's a lot of concentration of mythos in one area. So maybe I can just sort of like almost go into my, bestial form and prowl the streets and try to sniff out that heavy area of power.
Yeah.
We think that the...
I get the description of the gunman now. Okay.
How about the license plate?
Yeah. Yep. That's funny.
Glad you enjoyed. What are you thinking, Baku?
Yeah. Like I said, I'm going to prowl the streets and try to sniff them out, essentially.
I mean, this originally happened at the graveyard.
Right. I mean, that would probably be the place to start. I
would
agree,
think so.
Lily.
Interesting point. Isn't that something that Hans said initially? That the body was taken.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so let's move to the... So I maybe... I guess I'd bring everyone along, probably, because we need to be ready if I do find them. But
So let us go to the graveyard.
Okay.
There are our statuses that are in effect. Falling rain continues. Cops are out. And again, like the APB means I find you is actually a status on the targets, on those three gunmen.
Right, and I'd like to do something to essentially, like you said, reduce their hidden status or their whatever it is.
Absolutely. So what do we see as you're there? Are you like, are you sniffing around, or do you see physiological changes?
I think that it's like I like to imagine that it's almost half spectral and half actually like my form changing, but like I sort of take on these different animal traits of the chimera. So it's like, maybe my nostrils actually are, flared out and huge, and my eyes are like, changing to be like that of a cat or something, like he's he's literally like physically changing, but it's almost like cartoon drawn in over top with like sort of like a purple energy or whatever it is. That
I'm going to apply one more status here too, guys. It's a situational status. Boom. That is something specific to the graveyard.
So here I think that it's sort of let's see, sniff out monsters obviously and nightmares.
Yep.
Predator senses.
Yep, I'd agree with that.
And I don't think I'd be using the darkness or my sort of defensive ones. I guess the only other one maybe that makes sense is adapting to my praise abilities. I have had enough of a description of them that I've sort of got some idea of their mythos, and so I'm sort of, and also obviously from Lily's descriptions, I've got some idea of the mythos of the dead here in play, and so I've kind of I know what scent I'm looking for essentially. Well, and she described the Slovaki, right, or whatever. The food. So all right, here we go.
So, and you can get it's a +1 situational bonus as well too for scene of the crime, because you're actually here now.
Right, we actually came to the... Okay, so I tried to change the game. Oh, very nice.
Holy shit, and power 4.
Wow, 4.
So, I think, you know, the getting back to the original, the first scene that we had, we see, once again, you get up and... There's that flash in your eye. There's that sort of like mystical second thing we see, that chimeric, you know, snarl. And Baku takes off in a blind run, off in one direction. Lily and Tlaloc, what do you guys do?
Tlaloc is going to follow, transporting through the rain and bodies of water.
Okay.
So,
how about Lily?
I guess Han's going to have to help you catch up there, Lily. Baku is on the move.
Yeah, I mean, I will. I think I will. I will call Hans down and try to crawl on his shoulders.
Okay. And then he just kind of runs after her, or what?
Yeah.
Yeah, love it. Okay, so we see a bit of a montage of Baku racing out of the graveyard. You know, it's him racing through the streets, through the, and we really get a sense from this just how dilapidated and how you know, how hard times things are in the sod. And after this sort of appropriate, you know, chase thing, there's intense music being played. We come upon where Baku, you come to a halt. And you know, even through the falling rain, in that building is your prey.
Okay. Well, I feel like we gotta sneak in, so if I can make more distraction with the rain, that would be helpful, I think.
Okay.
Or do we want a grand entrance?
Well,
and
let's does Lily have anything that she wishes to do? Lily hasn't in the spotlight for a bit.
So Baku's pointing to this building.
Mm-hmm.
What you cannot see is that around back there is a garage. You don't have to, Sean. Like, I want to give you an opportunity to have some spotlight time if you'd like.
Just freaking smash a hole in the side of the building.
Yeah, just have Hans destroy some hearses, man.
Okay. Yeah, she says, Baku, let's say Baku suggests that. She goes, oh, okay. And shrugs and say, Hans, you know, punch a hole.
Yeah, make us an entrance.
It swells up. So this, to me, sounds like... well, what do you think you're doing here? Because you're not trying to hurt someone. You're trying to fight someone.
It is almost like changing the game,
Or performing a feat of daring. Pretty.
Yeah, like I think like the risk is where there's a consequence from failure. I'm thinking that Hans can probably just do this. Like, unless you're trying to impose a status of like terrified or something like that on them, you know.
Yeah.
It's probably something
it doesn't even need a roll.
No, just something that's absolutely within the scope of what your character can do.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, Hans, get us in there.
So Hans reaches forward, and through that whole first window there, you hear the smashing, and from inside you can hear there's some shouting. He pulls back, and I think that whole corner of the building just collapses down and pulls out. And what you can see through the dust and whatnot is on that main floor there is a table that's set up, and there are 4 people there. One is a woman who is dressed in an inordinately inappropriate kind of like bondage getup. There's lots of collars on her neck, on her wrists and whatnot, and a very, very, very tight bodice of black. She's an African-American woman. She looks over, and she's wearing sunglasses in spite of the fact of being indoors and in spite of it being nighttime and raining outside. The other 3, you would have a hard time telling them apart because all 3 of them look like big, burly, hairy men, probably no taller than about 5'8", but stocky and strong, all dressed in sort of like tan-colored tracksuits. And you can see that they're sort of fighting over a bone, a big chunk of like meat on a bone. They're all like, and arguing about it on this big plate. Clearly they've just been finishing dinner. She looks over and sees you guys, and it looks like at the back of the building there is a door leading probably to the garage. She looks over at you guys and just makes a quick, like a whistle, and the 3 of them look up at you guys and are about to charge in. So who would like to start with the spotlight? Carl, you were trying to say that you wanted to do something for Tlaloc, so would you like to start?
I mean, yeah, if you want me to try to clear the way with some heavy lightning, I could do that.
Sure.
Yeah,
It's
is that
also
cool,
great
Kevin?
atmosphere. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, Baku rips the thing. We take in the scene. It's raining outside. Now we got an opening.
Yep.
Smite with some lightning.
Okay.
Hit him with all I got.
You got it.
I feel like we need to talk to the woman, but the dog men in the tan jumpsuits, which is great, Kevin. Is it like tan on the outside and then has, it's like the dark?
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny.
So what are we thinking for power tags here?
It's call upon a storm and thunderbolt manipulation.
Yep.
I don't know if that electric gaze applies here. That might be more subtle.
Yeah.
Like shooting lightning out of your eyes, but just a kaboom is a little different.
So here's something that would be an opening thing. Here's another thing you could try is if you wanted to jack up the falling rain, say, and transform it into like gathering storm or something like that. Mm-hmm. That could be a status you could then pull on to like add to your own effects.
Yeah, I could turn myself into water, so just pull myself together into this huge water deity thing for intimidation. Okay.
So what do you think?
So I'll use that. Yeah, is that okay?
To draw on the falling rain. So
turn myself into water, so channel the water.
I can't remember. Have you affected the rain at all yet, or the water at all yet?
No, I've been wanting to, but it hasn't really been necessary.
So here's what I'll do.
Dodging.
You did mention it before we jumped into the thing here. So I'll transform the falling rain status into gathering storm, because that's sort of what you said you were trying to do, and I'll let you draw on that status. Normally what you want to do is you'd want to change the game to kind of create that story tag and then draw on it, but fuck it, first time playing, let's add that in. So you get to add +2 to your hit it with all you got, and then go right ahead.
All right, let's see what happens. Where do I always forget that. Hit it with. I always forgot. Okay, never mind.
Yeah, we're the
first time playing. Yeah. Man, we're rolling. Right. We're getting some good rolls here, man.
So that's a 4, and then you also get to choose 2 to add. So they're going to be hit with a. What do you think the power tag is?
Well, or
the status, I should say, is.
So it's you get them good. You get more of them. Do I have to get more of them?
Getting more of them, yeah, because there's 3 of them, so that would hit all 3 of them.
Yeah, so let's do that. I'll use that to get more of them.
Okay.
Target all 3 of them.
And then you get one more thing you get to choose.
Get them good.
Okay. So
Or, well, I control the collateral damage. So could I blow this building apart?
yeah, and well, you did say you wanted to talk to the woman too, right?
We wanted to what?
Did
Yeah,
you say you wanted
her.
to talk to the woman?
Oh, I could hold the target's attention, I guess, right? I don't know.
Well, what I'm saying is that if you wanted to hit the 3 men, but not the woman, that's what
Yeah.
control your collateral damage would do.
Oh, yeah. Okay, let's do that.
Okay, so yeah, you and I got an idea for the. Oh, I should get rid of this. I'll just cut and paste again. How does this sound for a tag? You tell me if you want it changed. No, not a tag, but a thing.
Sure.
Shocked caller. All right, so all 3 of them, you think you hear a yelp. As all 3 of them are hit by this brilliant, blinding lightning bolt. Baku or Lily, who wants the spotlight next?
And how does it? How do they? So they've been cowed back.
They've been hit with a. They currently have a status 4 effect, but they're not down yet. So they're all knocked on the ground. That table is annihilated. The woman seems to be staggering back. So what do you think? Again, like let's think. What do you think in fiction you'd like to do, Sean? And then we can figure out what the
Yeah. That's a cool way to do it, I think.
So seeing that they're still up, Lily looks at the roof and says, "Hey Hans, why don't you coax those gargoyles down?" And wants Hans to conjure fantastical creatures, and so he wants to bring them down and sick them on the dogs.
Yeah, love it. Okay, so then that would be what you're trying to create is a effectively like a status in the game. That'll be these things. So Hans would kind of look up at those things and then start speaking in ancient Chinese of some kind. And then what do you think and what power tags do you think might apply here?
So conjure fantastical creatures, of course.
For sure, yeah.
I mean, since they come from the roof, transform the environment is a possibility.
Yep, I'd buy that. I'd also, because he's using mystical things, knowledge of the art. Remember I mentioned how there are some tags that are broad?
Yeah.
That one seems like if you're talking about it in being a form of magic, it's an easy one to always get.
Yeah.
So that's 3. Anything else you think of?
I think that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah. How about negatives? Anything? Let's see. Gathering Storm, I think is probably pretty good. Shock Collars, probably
Shock
not.
Collars only for the targets. That's only for the
Gotcha.
the trio.
That's like their status. Yeah.
I don't know if any of those would affect it. You tell me. Doesn't seem
Nope,
like
I don't
it.
think so. Nope,
Okay.
I think that's all. That's good.
And what move would this?
This would be a change the game because you're trying to
Change the game.
create a tag in the thing.
Yeah. Okay.
How do we do here?
Okay.
Okay, so you get 3, and then by default your effect is topical, affects 1 target. So you get 3. So yeah, you could spend if you want to create that thing. What do you think you want to call these things?
Gargoyle buddies.
Okay, so let's do this. And I'm going to put these under your control here. Let me just quickly rename these. And they have a 3. And let's put them under controlled by Lily. There you go. All right. So what does it look like as these things? Like, do they pull themselves out from the side of the frieze, or are they actually up there, do you think, or what?
It's like they were alive the whole time, even though, they probably weren't. And so, but, the Hans looks up and starts, and at first I think that he's conjuring something.
Yeah.
But he's actually just talking to them. And he hey, kind of like does what she did with the tracksuit guys, he does with the gargoyles.
Yeah.
And winks at her and goes, and all of a sudden their wings go, and they all turn and look at him, and he chats with them, for it seems like a conversation to Lily, because she's like, oh my gosh, seriously? and then they rise up, kind of they spring, that you kind of see their legs bunch and kind of dramatically.
Yeah.
And then they catch air in their wings and swoop right down into the hole.
So I think there's going to be there'll be, let's say, 5 of them that will be tier or status 2. So their overall effect, because of the number, will be 3, but you've got a bunch of them.
Cool.
Okay. Baku, so you have not had the spotlight yet in this. What were you thinking?
I mean, I like to think this sort of all simultaneous or close to.
Yep.
And I think that Baku, when he sees the woman, he's sort of drawn to the power of her mythos, like a moth to a flame, right? Like or a light. He just... I think he would charge in at her. Like
the
his
thing
sort of
that catches your eye, that glints in particular, is the collar around her neck.
Yeah, and I just think that it's like, he can't help but rush in to get to her.
Love it. What are you thinking?
Probably he's going to. I think his move is always like he tries to render them unconscious, right? He's not like a killer. He's like, it's a match, or like it's martial arts. So he is definitely trying to incapacitate her.
Yeah. So, and again, and you know this already, Jeff, but just for the benefit of the folks at home and for Sean and Carl, you can choose what your status is you impose. So if he's trying to hit it with all he's got, and you want to impose a status on it, it doesn't need to be killed. It can be,
Right.
not cold,
unconscious or whatever.
Yeah.
And so, so I think that's part of the reason he carries the nunchaku, is they are just such a great blunt object for achieving this. So he's going to use his martial arts. He's going to use his nunchucks, and I think, like I said before, when he does this, it's sort of actually he's probably gone quite far down his chimera path at this point, and so I mean he's not coming from the shadows, but he's going to use his claws, horns, and tusks, and what he's going to use them for is to close, as he's closing the distance, the claws, and he's sort of almost like running on all fours, and it's like building up speed for the blow kind of thing. Like he is increasing he's moving quickly, sort of like as the lightning chases into the room that's hitting the dogs, it's like it lights him up as he's sort of flying through the air towards her.
Love it. All right, so you got adapt to my praise abilities? No. Claws, horns, and tusks, nunchaku, and mixed martial arts?
Yep.
Yeah, go right ahead.
Come on, good roll. Oh, no. Oh, no, it's not terrible. It's mixed results.
You give a target with appropriate status with your choice of... Let's see here. Give a target with your choice of 1. Is there nothing else that happens? Hold on, I'll open up.
It turns red because I rolled a 1, but it's still... It doesn't actually mean it's not a success.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I think
if I roll
you get to choose 1.
Yeah, if I roll below 7, it's bad.
Oh, okay, got it.
6 or less.
Right. Okay, so what is the status you're thinking of imposing? It's a power 3 you're putting on them.
Yeah.
Oh, well, you can also bump it up to 4.
Oh, that's probably a great idea, because this is a extremely powerful opponent.
Okay, so what do we see as you go in and hit this woman?
So I can you can change the name of the status, or do you I guess you would call it like knock her out or whatever, and like build it up and continue to try and raise it.
Yeah, or if you're imposing a power 4 on this, something else might happen. So you come racing in, and that lightning hits those 3, and they yelp and fall back. You come in and wham, hit this woman, And then there is a flash. And after the lightning subsides, what you see where the woman was once standing is a 3-tethered leash. And in place of those 3 men, there are 3 kind of angry bulldogs lying on the ground, kind of trying to snort because they've got soot all over their little faces. No sign of the woman, no sign of the men. There is, however, 3 submachine guns that are sitting on a table at the back of the room.
Ooh.
So what do you guys wish to do?
Well, those, I think we know what guns were used at the graveyard, huh? She looks over at the table in the back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we could explore the hearses. Maybe the bodies are still there.
Yeah.
See if we can find the hearse. Yeah.
So, if you make your way into the room, you can see that there is a door leading out the back.
Yeah.
And as you guys are going in, you see the 3 dogs that, now that the lightning bolt has hit, that bone has been cast to the floor, and all 3 dogs are fighting over that bone once again.
Mm-hmm.
But Baku, I think you're the first one in there, so you can see that at the back of the this room, it leads right into the garage, and you can see a long gray hearse in there.
Hans looks over and says, Lily looks over and says, Hans, find him a couple more bones. And then, just continues forward. So these are now dogs.
The bones appear in his hand and drops them down, and the dogs sort of all spread out and grab a bone each, but then all come back together almost as if they're sitting in a big pile.
And I envision Hans like saluting, like, okay, anything else, princess?
Love it. So Baku, what do you wish to do? You can see that hearse is in the back, parked in the garage.
Yep.
Well, I think I obviously head over and open the back to see if the body's there.
You open it up. There is a coffin in there. And it seems to be made of... You're not sure you've seen a coffin made of this kind of wood before. It's almost like you made an entire coffin out of driftwood.
Is there a body in there? In the hearse?
You want me to go? Well, how solid is it? Are you going to break it open, or do you want me to look inside if I can?
I think I would try and... I think that if it's a hearse, it's got like the special sliding thing, so you can pull it out,
you can
right?
slide the whole thing right back, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Are these like hermetically sealed, or?
No, it's just like a regular coffin lid. There's 2 pieces to that. You can see just the feet, you can see the body, you can see the head, you can see the whole thing.
Do you want me to, before we open it, do you want me to look inside, or what do you want to do?
Sure.
There is, if you, Baku, rum and cigars.
There you go. So do we take the whole thing, or do we break out the body only, or just drive away?
I mean, we should look,
the
right?
Cops are after us.
Shouldn't we look?
Cops are after this hearse. I don't think we want to be found in it.
We should actually look, though, don't you think?
Yeah, I think we take the body out of this.
At least look at
hearse.
it.
Yeah.
Make sure.
So you pull the whole thing open, just the head bit. What do you think?
Yeah.
Just the head bit.
Okay. You open it up, and what you see in there is a body in here of a youngish, middle-aged black man, clean-shaven, dressed in kind of a suit, the kind of cheap suit you'd see in like something that was purchased just to have a body buried in it. But the unusual thing is there are 2 coins placed across the eyes. And these coins look to be ancient. They're kind of thin, hammered thing. It's a thing you see on like the History Channel. And one coin is placed over each of the eyes.
That means something, right? Right? I'm pretty sure it means something.
Is it blocking the...
Here's what you guys could do. If you choose to, you could reach into the mythos, just like Tlaloc did. You could make a move and investigate as one of your flashbacks. Because I don't think anyone... I think Tlaloc sort of used a flashback / mythos thing for it. Neither Lily nor Baku have done so.
It seems like since Baku's like a chimera, maybe he's the most.
Yeah, you'd actually have a +3 to your roll because of your mythos.
Yeah, sure. I could do that.
Yeah. So I think it's... I can't remember how to make that roll.
Is it a cinematic move?
It's a cinematic move, yeah.
Yeah, you hit like cinematic move and then...
Finally some answers? Is that the one? No, that's about my myth.
Yeah, it's about your myth. I think it's just the...
flashback?
Flashback.
Yeah. So maybe what you remember from one hunt with... And it was against something that... a myth or a rift related to some kind of Greek myth. Maybe it was hunting like a minotaur in the sewers of the city.
Oh,
and you remember
cool.
at the end of it, it was a woman who asked for your help with this, and when the person died, she placed 2 coins over the dead body's eyes, and she told you it was a custom. It's a custom to pay the ferryman. It is Charon's toll.
Right. That's right. Charon's toll. I remember now.
It is something also that only really has power, or at least the power is derived from that kind of Greek mythos. Certainly not something you would see with Baron Samedi.
No. And something he does not believe in, and I think I would then reach in and take the coins off of his eyes.
As soon as you take the coins off of his eyes, it opens up. And he looks over, and the same voice you heard coming from Molly's body.
Took you long enough.
And somehow, with a flourish, there's a cigar suddenly in his hand. Takes a puff, and now there's a top hat on his head. With a gesture, the coffin opens. He steps out. You have a girl, and I have a debt. So we cut maybe back to...
The dojo?
Yeah, your dojo. And I will let you tell us, what do you think Baron Samedi does to bring Molly back?
I think maybe it's he's like he reaches, impossibly like sort of into the gunshot wound, and he reaches past he grabs the bullet and then sort of like reaches past, and as he's pulling the bullet out, you kind of see him pull her spirit back into her body as he's withdrawing the bullet.
Love it.
Kind of like the coins, except rather than the coins disappearing, it's drawn from the body and
Yeah.
He has asked to keep the 2 coins. It's your choice if you choose to give them to him. It was not part of your deal.
That's interesting. Yeah, I would see. So, like, as I said, like how Baku sort of keeps trophies of his things, I would see this as his trophies that he defeated the Greek death. We may have assisted him, but I would see them as his trophies to keep.
You could ask him for a solid. I saw that in a movie.
He did say he would give us some kind of treasure. Or what was it? Oh, a prize? I can't remember
Prize?
what you were excited
A gift.
about. Lily. A gift.
I like gifts.
And that was Molly back.
Okay, that was the gift.
Yeah. So because Molly is back, you do not have to worry about that postponed telephone call from Erica at the hole. So, guys, with that, the gravedigger toffs his hat, leaves a bottle of rum behind for you, and takes his leave. What do we wish to end with, guys? What do we see as our closing scene?
It's kind of simplistic, but Lily looks at Hans and says, "Do I like rum?" And then, like, that's it. You know, that's the...
Well,
Clark is going to follow up with Erica, you know, because he did say that he did owe her,
yeah.
and, you know, say thank her profusely, follow up on the, you know, take care of his territory, you know, follow up with the kids, follow up with Erica, make sure everything's
Absolutely.
good.
Same.
Back to
Molly
normal.
comes with you to, you know, to show, and like she's crying when she sees that she's actually alive, you know. And what about Baku?
I think we sort of see Baku, you know, leaning against the desk or whatever he's got in his little office, and you see Molly's on the phone calling Amy, and he's sort of like proudly looking down at his students and, you know, really just taking in the joy of her being back and her friend, you know,
Yeah.
reconnecting and getting to call her and say, you know, I'm okay, kind of thing.
That is awesome. All right. So, and you're training while that's happening, right? Like you're working away on a heavy bag maybe, and you can hear her call. You pause or slow down for a second to hear it, and you can hear her crying on the other end, and then back to your training. All right. So then, guys, let us end with geeking out during the credits. So what this is we'll go around the table, and at the end of the session, every player can answer one or more of the following questions. The questions are: how has the crew grown during this session? Which character had the most meaningful interaction with your character this session? And which of your themes is under the most strain? If it collapses, what new aspect will show up in its place? Now, the themes are the 4 components of your characters, right? Oh, perfect, yeah. So then let's start with Carl. You can answer one or all of those questions or any of them. What are you thinking?
Where are the themes? The themes are...
It's right on the thing. So the themes are the 4 parts of your character. So like for Lily, the 4 parts, your 4 themes are My Green Magical Giant, Sorcerer Supreme, An Unusual Big Brother, and Runaway Punk.
Cool.
Yeah, I would say, I mean, although I'm going to say we definitely grew as a team. We learned each other's, you know, contributions that we could do variously. I think we worked pretty well together and good support. So I think, I feel like we're closer. That could only be Tlalok's point of view. But I think Wheeler and Dealer took the most hit because he actually stretched more towards Diamond in the Rough by getting the police involved, which is probably not his thing.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it's that messed up, but it's definitely
interesting. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, because he may have, like, his crew may have issues with him going to the cops to feed info.
Yeah, I don't know if I can. I don't know about them. I can't think of the. I think the interactions were mostly equal for me towards the other characters. So.
Sean, what do you think?
I think that the crew has grown because we faced danger together, because we helped others together, and I thought we worked pretty well together. Which character the most meaningful interact with your character this session? I mean, it's probably Baku. Baku, because I'm living in his dojo on his couch. We're like roommates, and he's like, "Oh, don't use that word. God, when are you leaving?" Like maybe something, a little bit this.
If I remember
got
correctly, a help point is like a juice that they can use when in relation to you.
On any task, you just
on any task
where it makes sense, you can just say like, and then you just say how you're helping or hurting their role for that specific role.
So then, would you say that the help point would go to Baku?
Yes. Yeah, kind of an Oscar Felix relationship a little bit. In addition to the fact of my age, comes into play.
Yeah.
Overaged adolescent. And then which of your themes innermost strain? I'm thinking runaway punk, emphasis on the runaway. She's still punkish, but the runaway, she's getting a little homey here. Like, so when do you move? So let's say when Baku says, so when you moving on? As I move in another box of like girlish crap, like underneath the, his couch.
Yeah.
And I'm like, moving on? What are you talking about? And like, what? Like he's sticking around a place? Is that what's going on here? This kind of thing.
Yeah. Nice. And Jeffrey.
I think that interestingly, for Baku, I think the character that had the most meaningful interaction, at least from my perspective, is I think the interaction that I had with Hans, where we'd have to, I don't know if this is possible, or I almost think it's almost two-sided, because he saw the care that Hans had for the children, which would sort of be a help point, but also Hans killed the Pied Piper, and that's almost like a hurt point. So it's almost like 1 and 1. Like it's kind of the way I'd see that going forward.
I would give both. I would give in that.
Like
I would be fine with both being awarded.
And I feel like my Tiger Claws dojo is kind of always my theme that's kind of under strain, even though we used it a lot and I interacted with the card a lot, but I still feel like that's just kind of he's really grasping to hold on to it, and he had some struggles, right? I mean, trying to communicate with his students, and it's not easy for him, and so just because it's under strain doesn't mean he's not working hard on it.
Well, and I wonder what long-term the impact of having one of his students so badly harmed under his watch.
Yeah.
Like what that might do, whether he would pull further away as a result of that, or whether it would cause him to try and pay attention to more of the minutia of what's going on in these kids' lives.
That's what the rum's for.
Yeah. Exactly. Well, that is...
Now, mechanically...
Go ahead.
I just wanted to quickly say, mechanically speaking, if you lose all of your logos or all of your mythos, if you flip one way or the other, your character kind of becomes either not part of the game if you're all logos, because you have no myth anymore, and if you become all mythos, you become like an avatar, basically.
Yeah, and like just you become a divine manifestation of whatever your mythos is, and it usually is quite destructive, because whatever the goal is that the mythos has been working towards, it becomes that. So, like for instance, because Baku is a supernatural hunter, what might happen is it might manifest and go after Iron Hans.
Right, and just become the monsters that he's been hunting. And so I'm just pointing that out because there's interesting tension in this game where you kind of almost have to protect those cards if they're your last one of either end, because you sort of lose your
So how do they collapse? I mean, what is it, like the criteria about which they collapse?
You'll see on the bottom of your cards there's little areas where you can tag like attention or fade or crack in the case of that. It's sort of, it goes along, and then like there's a downtime mechanic where you can address that stuff. Instead of getting clues or whatever, you can address those things, and we narratively talk how like you may re-engage with Baku's, maybe if he does feel like he's cracking, may want to spend some time at the dojo, more time with those kids, meet some of their parents and stuff like that, and then mark off one of the cracks.
Yeah.
Right.
And when your card flips, you always replace it with one of the other type.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's cool. And then your stuff can change. It's the ongoing nature of the game seems, I've never run it as on an ongoing basis, but it seems like there's some really, really good rules for this being a game in motion as you play through too. So great. Well, guys, thank you. So we're like right on the dime for ending it. So thank you so much for playing, guys. This was I really had a lot of fun writing this thing. You guys made this a even more fun session than I possibly could have hoped. So thank you so much to Carl, Sean, and Jeff for taking the time to play in the City of Mist, and for newbie players as well too. Carl and Sean, you guys took to it like a duck to water. Great jobs on taking advantage and making your characters feel like the mythic, agents they are. And Jeff, of course, you're always an awesome role player. So, and coming in with a system knowledge, you did a great job of showing how to do how to take advantage of that, and how to play the game side of the RPG.
Yeah, it was good times.
So, for those listening at home, thank you so much for joining us for Voodoodunnit. As is always the case, if you have any questions or concerns regarding the game we played or the charity initiative at all, please don't hesitate to leave a comment in the comment section below, and I will endeavor to reply in a timely fashion. In addition, you can find a link down below to the Dungeon Musings Discord server, where we have channels dedicated to most games we run on the channel. We don't have a City of Mist channel on there because this is only the second time I've run this. But there is a Assorted Games channel, and you can feel free to join the conversation and bring up the City of Mist over there. I think this is certainly not the last time we'll see this game on the channel, because I really enjoy how this game plays. And it's very neat not rolling dice. I didn't touch my dice at all, today. In addition, you can find a link down below to the Heroes Save Villages campaign. That is the campaign that benefits the SOS Children's Villages International charity, and it is what made this game possible. Starting on September 1st, we will have voting open for anyone who has donated since August 1st for our next charity session, which will be at the end of October, and it'll be a horror game. You'll be choosing between a series of different horror games. Whatever gets the most votes will be the game we'll be running at the end of October for our next charity session. Other than that, for those who do donate to the Hero Save Villages campaign, for every $25 that you donate, you get a chance to win one of either the grand prize or one of the other great prizes we have in our next charity raffle, which will be on December 1st, 2021. And in addition to that, you also get a chance to have a say. With this particular game, it was very difficult to find a way for people to have input into the game without giving away the secrets of the mystery. So, but next time, I'm telling them, there will definitely be some ways for you to also vote. If you've donated since August 1st, not only will you get to help select what game we're running, you'll also get a chance to say, to either equip our heroes or help me decide what problems our heroes will be facing in our horror game. Last thing I will say is, and once again, a huge thank you to Carl, Sean, and Jeff for taking the time to play again today. Guys, the games are never possible without excellent players, and I appreciate you guys taking the time to join me in the City of Mist this afternoon. So thank you. With that, we hope that we have given you a couple of hours to take your mind off of the troubles of our world and think about the troubles that beset our mythic heroes in the City of Mist. And until we see you again, stay safe, stay healthy, and happy gaming.